Good evening. I have 7 o'clock. I call the meeting to order, and we'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Mr. Greg David,
Present.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Here.
Ms. Emily Hamburg,
Here.
Mr. Brandon McIntosh,
Present.
Mr. Mike Proctor,
Here.
and you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. So someone may remember last fall, we had Deacon Luke Meyerhoff from Church of Resurrection to lead us in prayer. Deacon Meyerhoff is back from the spring until May, when, God willing, he will be ordained as a priest. He will then be assigned to as a pro-convictor at another parish in the diocese. Deacon Meyerhoff, welcome you to lead us in prayer tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's begin in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, give you thanks and praise for the gift of another day and a city council meeting. We ask that you bless our city council members and in gratitude primarily for the gifts that they share with our community and their sacrifice of time that they give. As we look around the world, Lord, we ask that you send forth your peace on our world in the midst of these turbulent times. We ask that you give the grace and the strength to all the world leaders to promote peace and justice throughout the world. And let that peace begin here in our hearts, here in Bel Aire, so that we may not look at each other with envy or with hatred or violence, but with love and respect for one another. We ask all this through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Please join me in a pledge of allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is we have a proclamation. So this month, March is Red Cross month. So I have a proclamation I will read. To the citizens of Bel Aire, Kansas, greetings. Whereas March is Red Cross month, special time to recognize and thank our heroes, those who volunteer, take life-saving courses, and provide financial donations to support an organization whose mission is to help those in need. Whereas we would like to remember those who help all of us here in Bel Aire, Kansas, by giving their time to help their neighbor, and thank our heroes, our volunteers, class takers, and financial supporters who help us assist those in need. And whereas in the city of Bel Aire, the American Red Cross works tirelessly through its employees and thousands of volunteers to help when disaster strikes, when someone needs life-saving blood or the comfort of a helping hand. And whereas across the country, the American Red Cross responds to the average of 65,000 disasters a year, provides services to military members, veterans, and civilians, collects and distributes about 40% of the nation's blood supply, trains more than 7 million people in first aid, water safety, and other life-saving skills every year. And whereas our community depends on the American Red Cross, which relies on donations of time, money, and blood to fulfill its humanitarian mission, the American Red Cross continues to offer help and comfort to those in need. Now, therefore, I, Jim Benage, Mayor of the City of Bel Aire, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim March 2026 as the American Red Cross Month in Bel Aire. And just as a side note, we did check to see, unfortunately, there aren't any blood drives in the local area for the next couple months. So I was hoping we would find one, but nobody's doing it right now. But there will be. But you're always welcome to go to the downtown office and donate blood if you're able to do that. Okay. Move on to determine agenda additions. Are there any additions to be made for the agenda? And hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains minutes of the February 17th City Council meeting and one appointment. Mr. John Sutherland has volunteered to fill an open position on the Planning Commission. If confirmed by the council, Mr. Sutherland's term will be for 3 years, expiring on March 3, 2029. Just to be clear, we still have an opening on the Planning Commission, even if we approve Mr. Sutherland's appointment tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Hamburg and a second by Mr. McIntosh. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is discussion and approval of appropriations ordinance. This ordinance encompasses expenses from February 11th through February 24th, amounting to $242,905. No infrastructure costs were paid in the special assessments. No special assessments are incurred during this period.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David, or Mr. Dean? Okay, Mr. Dean.
I move that we approve appropriation ordinance number 26-04.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Dean, and a second by Mr. David. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. City requested appearances. We have two, well, it's kind of actually one person with two different presentations. So Chief Atterbury to present the 2025 Willard Garvard Crime Prevention Officers of the Year Award.
Yes. I'll remind you that back in October or so, we were also the task force, which we're a member of. We were recognized by the International Association of Financial Crimes Investigators down in Oklahoma City. That was an honor. But additionally, last Tuesday, we were honored by the Wichita Metro Crime Commission with the Willard Garvey Crime Prevention Officer of the Year Award at their 72nd annual awards dinner. And the city of Bel Aire, Wichita, or the Bel Aire Police Department, was awarded this plaque to commemorate our participation and success in that task force. And some of you don't know anything about it. So what it is we are with about 11 agencies initially. This award went to 13 agencies, and now there are 15 agencies involved in this task force. And what it is, from Harvey, Reno County, Butler County, Sumner County, I believe Kingman County, many agencies here in Sedgwick County, we collectively work on property crimes. So what that is we work in concert with businesses, Target, Dick's Sporting Goods, Academy Sports, JCPenney, et cetera, on these groups that come in and steal from the businesses. It's $1 billion operation, throughout the U.S. And here in Kansas, Kansas is one of the leading locales for property crimes. So we conversed with one of the captains in Wichita 3 years ago or so, and he took the ball and ran with it and got permission to create this task force. And through this task force, I'll just give you a few numbers. They have arrested 628 people for 638 felony charges. They've gotten 750 grams of meth off the street, 49 grams of fentanyl powder, 775 fentanyl pills, a lot of cocaine, and one bomb. Actually got a bomb off of somebody. But they have also, and this is an old number, it's a few days old, but they've recovered $7,556,000 worth of property. And that's vehicles and just small items from stores, generators, tools from Home Depot, et cetera. That's a lot of theft happening in our area. And I looked at the board before I came down. We've got 20 some people here in Bel Aire that have been targets of that task force and continue to be targets of that task force. So we are participating, and we're getting some benefit because we're working on people that live here in our community. So this is for us.
Very good. Congratulations.
Then the second thing on the agenda is the emergency operations plan. those that have been here for a few years know that we have an emergency operations plan. It's 15 different areas of concentration. Each one of those areas is 10 to 20 pages long. It's cumbersome. It was not fun to put together, but I got a lot of assistance from Sedgwick County Emergency Management. They showed the path to get that done. What I'm doing now is I've worked with Andover since they just recently went through a critical event, their tornado, and they've provided me a copy of theirs, which I have stolen from liberally to create one for us, and that will be something that you can go through. There's also some training that Ted's going to send out to each one of you, and it's really suggested that you engage in that training so that if we do have an event, I pray we don't, but if we do, we're prepared for it, and we can work with our partners to successfully navigate the initial situation, move into the maintenance, and then the recovery plan. And so that's what this document, which is only 28 pages versus the REMA paper, for us to work off of. And we'll have that for you sometime in the near future. Any questions on that?
I'm glad we have a plan. I'm glad you got an update there. It's often been said, the worst time to decide you need to do an emergency plan is when you have an emergency.
Right.
You don't have time to make a plan then. So I do encourage everybody to read through the documents when he passes them out so that we are prepared, and hopefully we never need to use it. But
And hand in hand with the plan is going to be that training that I believe Ted's going to send out, and that's the incident command system, which is used all over the nation. Fire departments use it daily, and that gives you an idea as to what the makeup of the command structure is and where we fit within that command structure. And if we are being assisted by the county, how we come under their umbrella and get as much assistance as we can, and lend a hand where we can, to make the whole situation turn out as well as it can.
yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate the input. So great. All right. Move on to citizens' concerns. Our first one is Mr. Ted Fay. I'd ask you to come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. And we give everybody 3 minutes for these comments.
Sir, my name is Ted Fay. More fully, it's Theodore Dennis Fay III. I live at 6961 East Pheasant Ridge Street here in Bel Aire. I'll be very brief, Mr. Mayor. My sole concern has to do with traffic patterns at 53rd and Woodlawn and 53rd and Oliver. These are based on my personal experience. I don't come to you with any kind of technical knowledge, but I do shuttle kids back and forth to Heights High School every day. And also in the evenings, frequently during rush hour time due to her activities. And what I've noticed is the traffic, north-southbound traffic, as everybody here knows, does not stop. And it gets very heavy. And I personally sometimes have difficulty crossing those roads during rush hour and morning and evening. And I've also personally witnessed a lot of risky behavior from people who will try to dash out and try to get into some breach. So I've been concerned about this, and I've been meaning to mention something, but then I read in the most recent Bel Aire Breeze that there's going to be some ideas for a new stop sign there to help with the safety, but that there were no plans for stop sign north-south. So my request is very simple. I thought I would ask the city council to please consider and look into perhaps a traffic study to determine whether or not it would be a good idea to put north-south traffic stop signs at 53rd and Woodlawn and at 53rd and Oliver, just like there is at 53rd and Hillside. And that concludes my remarks, unless you had any questions for me.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. If you want to wait around in the meeting later on, we'll actually be talking about that very subject, but it's going to be late in the meeting.
I'd be
So,
happy to do so.
We have, there are a couple of traffic studies that have been done at Woodlawn and 53rd. So you're welcome to stick around and listen to that. But like I said, it'll be late in the meeting before we get to that topic. So, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your considerations.
Thank you.
Council members.
Next, we have Dr. Rob Lindstead. Yeah, I said give you the same rules. Name, address, and 3 minutes.
Rob Lindstead, 5450 East 45th Street North in Bel Air. And as some of you know, I'm the superintendent at Sunrise Christian Academy. We like being a small school that lives in Bel Air, where Wichita is a suburb of Bel Air. And we enjoy doing things on a national level. The latest issue of the Bel Air Breeze talks about our students who came and enjoyed a day here at the council with the mock city council meeting. Great hands-on learning. We enjoy that. On the back of the paper, you'll see that we were selected for the National Life Smarts competition, and we're excited about sending our students there. While I'm going to talk about drama tonight, I'll also mention that this week we did receive a national invitation for our prep team. That's our oldest team to play in the national tournament. Our elite team received their invitation to play in the Nike EYBL Nike Alphabet League, in which I think there's a total of 15 teams. 10 of us are ranked in the nation. So we have to play each other to get a right to go to the national tournament, but we're excited that we did receive that. And but tonight, really, I want to talk about the drama production. This Friday evening at 7, Saturday at 2, Saturday at 7, we'll be putting on The Sound of Music. And I have some flyers that I'll leave with the city clerk. And I want to invite you, your spouse, any of your extended family that would like to come. We're happy to provide you a ticket for that. Again, this year and probably next year, we'll be doing it at the Wichita Children's Theater for the Arts on Central. But we hope in the very near future to announce our plans to build our own fine arts drama center on the 5 acres there on 45th Street. We have plans, and there's a phase 1, 2, 3. Matter of fact, it's enlarging so much that we may have to move the gym to a different site, but we're still looking at a new gym area. So we'd be happy to have you as our guest. I think you'll enjoy the performance. Very
good. Thank you. And I have gone to a few of their theatrical performances, and they're always very well done. So this is exciting news, and congratulations on all the various things you talked about, because it's all very cool. So thank you. Lost my place. All right, we'll move on to council member reports. Mr. Dean.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I do have a few things. On Friday, February 20th, I attended the K254 Corridor Association members meeting. We had updates from KDOT. The K254 Rockweb and Greenwich study team was there. They also had, KTA also had an engineer present their current, or I guess most recent update to their study that they did for their interchange at Interstate 35 and 254, and they're in El Dorado. They shared different options and phased improvements that could happen with an expanded interchange, potentially even a new interchange to the north. But it was interesting information. Appreciate all the engagement. We had, like, I think over 40 people attend, which is a great number. Love seeing that. Wednesday, February 25th, I participated in a discussion with city staff and some engineering partners on potential to improve a future crossing at Woodlawn at 53rd Street related to the 53rd Street Path project. I'm excited to see that we've got some discussion on that. I think there's some options discussed, and I know the city staff was going to be visiting with USD 259 as well to coordinate that. So I appreciate the staff taking that effort. Look forward to visiting about different options on that. And then budget related, I listened into a presentation given at the February 18th Sedgwick County Commission meeting. At that time, the county appraiser, the new county appraiser, indicated a 9% average increase in residential valuations. On that note, multiple commissioners spoke about that process, spoke kindly of the new appraiser. Commissioner Beatty noted that all jurisdictions should work hard on budgets, made sure to mention that that's what's really driving the increase in taxes is budgets, and that we need to work hard on those, and all jurisdictions should work to try to manage their budgets and be able to cut mill. He also replayed some market data. I thought it was kind of interesting. So in 2024, sales, 91% of sales, and in 2025, 85% of home sales sold for over the county appraisal. Commissioner Howell also noted that mill rate, the appraisal assessed values are not as important as people think. That's just a part of the equation. I thought his comments were really good. Those are really just factors that help us figure out how to apply the taxing. So it was a good listen. So if anybody's interested, just to kind of listen in, that's the 218 meeting. They did a presentation. And then that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. David.
Mr. Mayor, I attended the CCUA meeting last Thursday. A lot going on there. The expansion continues on budget, on schedule. Lots of maintenance issues with the existing plant. Staff is doing an excellent job keeping things going with those thrown in sometimes very urgent matters that they take care of. And then our suspended solids are still out of compliance. We think that might be sampling issues. A new sampler hopefully will solve some of that, but it's been an issue for several months now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Proctor.
Mr. Mayor, not really much to report since the last one, but thank you.
Mr. McIntosh.
Mr. Mayor, I spoke to several citizens, one of them in Aurora Park, who was pleased to see the continuing progress and finalization efforts in that area and the construction. That's all I have to report.
Very good. Ms. Hamburg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also attended the CCUA meeting last Thursday, and Councilmember David did a great job summarizing it. That's all I had, Mayor.
Great. Thank you. All right, move on to the mayor's report. So March 6th, I will be making an update presentation on property taxes at the Wichita Pachyderm Club. So I will try to have the latest from the legislature in that presentation, including status of HB 2745 and SCR 1616. And we'll talk about those here right now for a little bit. So HB 2745, the property tax limit bill, it passed the Kansas House on February 26th, 76-45. It was substantially changed from its original version. However, it still has a lot of issues. First, election requirement was replaced with a protest petition, and I personally think that's unconstitutional because it's 5% of the voters can override the decisions of the city council. And that just doesn't sound right. In a republic, it's the body public that makes that decision, not a small percentage of them. So that I did go up to Topeka today and testified on that bill and pointed that out to the senators who were holding a hearing on that because it's now in the hands of the Senate. So the other thing is I did testify as a neutral position because I like the process, but I don't like some of the nuts and bolts that are in that bill. I also pointed out that schools they're currently exempt from this bill, and they account for as much as 50% of the property taxes, depending on your jurisdiction you're in. And that just doesn't seem right to pass a bill that half the property taxes are not affected by it. And I did point out to him, I think the voters will see that as just a game if we pass it and keep the schools out of the mix. But the other side of it is the R&R right now is gone. But in that bill, it's gone. If that survives, we'll see what happens. And so, but they did replace it with exceeding property tax limits, which would be another report that would be sent out. It would be a different report, but it'll be similar concept. And related to that, Kansas City, the Kansas Senate also passed SCR 1616 on February 25th, 30-10. And this is a constitutional amendment to the Kansas Constitution that would put limits on the property tax assessed values, that they could only grow no more than 3% for calculations of taxes. I pointed out to them, well, I did not testify on this bill. So, but the Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howe has found that of 161,000 properties in Sedgwick County, 85,000 of those properties will see a tax increase, and 76,000 of the properties would see some tax relief. So that bill is not a good thing, but it is one that did pass the Senate. The rumor I heard this morning when I was up there in Topeka is it has no chance of getting through the House. So probably that's probably a good thing, but we'll see how you never know what's going to happen in Topeka, right? So on February 19th, our House Bill 2571, which is our cost sharing proposal for shared roads, passed the Kansas House 117-5. So that was a nice win. On February 26th, it was referred to the Senate Committee on Local Government Transparency and Ethics. And as last I checked, there's no hearing date been set. So I probably will send the chair of that committee a note to say, hey, please get us hearing scheduled for that, because the session is going to be over by the end of the month. So it's coming up fast. On February 20th, I attended the K254 Corridor Association meeting, like Mr. Dean had talked about. We did review our Bel Aire and Keyshy joint letter that this commission saw last city council meeting, and with a few minor updates were made, and it was presented to the Keyshy City Council on February 26th, and they approved the letter, so it has been signed and sent to KDOT. And Mr. Dean talked about the KTA proposal for K254 and Interstate 35 interchange. Of course, no final plans have been made, but I did ask them about, and they did agree that the distance between Interstate 35 and K196 is pretty short, pretty tight. And so they're going to have some challenges to get that where you don't have confusing traffic congestion of people trying to get on to 254 from 35 and people trying to get off of 254 onto 196. So it's just tight. They got to work on it. On February 20th, Ted Henry and I attended a meeting called by Sedgwick County to discuss their sales tax distribution formula. This is a state mandated formula. Sedgwick County wants the legislature to give them, the counties, the authority to change that formula. And that might be okay, but we do want to have input into what that formula looks like before it's done, because that could be detrimental if it's done wrong. Commissioner Hamburg, or Councilmember Hamburg and David talked about the CCUA. The other thing we did at that meeting, we did hire a new attorney, Reese Hebert, as the CCUA attorney. And looks like he's going to be a good fit. He already is the city attorney for Canton, Kansas, and he is involved in the state water office. So it looks to be a great fit for CCUA. And I did update the rail item, asked to be updated, look at a high-level ROI, expanding the potable water storage capacity. It's currently 750,000 gallons, and theoretically, CCUA can produce 98 million gallons per month. The highest average usage for both cities, and we had a little bit of misstatement in the CCUA meeting. The highest average usage of both cities was 111 million gallons in 2022. So we don't have enough storage capacity to hold all the water that we can produce, and we could not, with the current capacity of the plant, produce enough water to satisfy those peak demands that we're having. But we still need to look at that ROI to see, is there some cost savings to be had at that? So that will be something that is being reviewed. And it's a high level review now. If it looks positive, we'll go into more detailed reviews at that once that's done. And then on February 27th, I presented the Bel Aire represented Bel Aire at the retirement party for Wes Gallion, the longtime CEO of the Wichita Area Builders Association. And Mr. Gallion was a champion for home ownership in the region. And many years ago, he told me that one issue he had with Bel Aire was the shared roads where we pay full cost for maintenance. So I never forgot that, and have been working on that ever since. And maybe HB 2571 will become something that gets some real traction in that area. So at that, I will ask our city attorney for her report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll give a brief update regarding some bills that I had mentioned to council a few meetings earlier. First, the bill is regarding golf carts, SB 367. This bill would give cities the authority to pass ordinances that would allow people to drive golf carts on sidewalks as long as they are at least 16 years old and they have a valid C driver's license. It was amended. That was amended to show that this would be valid for individuals who are only driving their golf cart to and from a golf course. With that new amendment, multiple people came on board with support, and it moves on to hearing tomorrow. Another bill that I will mention involves competency evaluations in municipal court. This is SB 481. I briefly touched on this last time, and I believe that council may even received information from others from the city, maybe even the chief of police. The competency evals with this bill makes it very clear that a municipal court judge could order a psychological evaluation and examination of a defendant if the judge believes that that defendant is not able to stand trial, is not competent. That examination would be done from a list of names which would be provided from your local district court, for us, Sedgwick County District Court. The next question by multiple people is who is going to pay for the cost of that examination? And it would be the city. It would be, according to the bill, it would be paid from the municipal court funds or the general fund of the municipality. If for any reason there was a determination that that defendant is not competent to stand trial, then of course at that time the city attorney would dismiss that case without prejudice. If the city learns later through credible information that that defendant who had originally been found incompetent is later found competent, then the case could be refiled by the city attorney. There was testimony given regarding specific cities, and one of the testimony comments came from the League of Kansas Municipalities. Their testimony was basically that it was in support because at least it provides guidelines. At least there are some guardrails as to what to do. So there is some consistency when it comes to how cities should react, how judges should help defendants who appear to have an issue when it comes to competency. We will continue monitoring that because Bel Aire does have a municipal court. At our municipal court, we do have person crimes, battery cases, DUIs, DV batteries. So this is going to be helpful for us to know how to proceed. There was also a bill that I discussed last time regarding contingency agreements, and that is HB 2593. It actually survived last year until it was vetoed by the governor. This year, there has been a change. The change is that if the city, not just the city, but any entity, government entity, if the government entity would like to enter into a contingency fee contract, which Bel Aire has done in the past, the city of Bel Aire would need approval from the Attorney General's office. And the Attorney General would review that and deliver a finding in writing to the city as to whether that contingency fee agreement is approved or whether it is not approved. There has been testimony providing this bill as well. I'd like to read a little bit. Opponent testimony came from the City of Overland Park, City of Wichita, Kansas Association of Counties, League of Kansas Municipalities. It was basically that this specific bill is redundant. It would override local control, decrease accountability, especially of home rule. We will continue to watch that one as well. The final bill I will mention is called the By Right Bill. This would provide a very streamlined approval process for housing developments, especially single-family homes, townhomes, accessory dwelling units. The whole purpose for streamlining is because of individuals who are trying to get into homes, but we need to make it a quicker process for zoning. The bill would require regulatory authorities to approve all of those developments as a matter of right, which is why it's called by right, without discretionary review or approval as long as they meet certain criteria outlined in the bill. This bill is very interesting because there's been a lot of testimony about we need to help people find homes. At the same time, there's been a lot of negative testimony as well about this reaches into cities' home rule. If a city is authorized by statute to have its own zoning regulations, then why wouldn't the city be able to enforce those zoning regulations? This continues. I think the opponents were, no, I don't think I know. The opponents were League of Kansas Municipalities, the Deputy City Attorney of the City of Olathe. They stated that this bill absolutely undermines city infrastructure planning, increased risks of legal challenges, and reduces any predictability for developers and can compromise public trust. I found that very interesting. We'll see what happens, and I will keep you updated. The last thing I will bring to your attention is the City of Bel Aire is involved in a very fun project right now. It is working on the record retention schedule. Looking for records, where are they? Who has them? This is not fun stuff, but I have to tell you, it's a great project. It absolutely reduces legal risk. It makes sure, it ensures that we are in compliant with all state, federal laws. It's also a very good operational efficiency method. That way we can access documents quick, and it's very good for the city overall. This is being led by every department head. Everyone's contributing. Fantastic support from our city manager, our city clerk, our departments. The chief of police has been so helpful with this. I just wanted to say I think it's a fantastic job, and I look forward to presenting that to you later.
Very good. Thank you. Move on to city manager's report. Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief Atterbury, for giving a short presentation on the emergency management plan. And I go through a lot of training, and usually the trainer is someone that's been through something. And the first thing he does when he gets a call that a city is in trouble is he'll go to that city and tell the manager, chief of police. People don't realize half of my staff will be up for over 24 hours if something happens to Bel Aire, and they tap him on the shoulder and say, go home, get some rest. And what Chief Atterbury doesn't get is any recognition, because usually he's that guy that if anything happens in a drivable area, chief goes to that location, gets the chief of police and taps him on the shoulder and says, go to sleep. I got this for the next so many hours. So thank you, Chief, for doing that all the time. And a huge asset to our community. If something goes wrong, Chief's got so much experience and all that. And I'm learning from one of the best. So it's a good time. I've been on a little bit of a speaking tour lately. Everybody knows we had the sidewalk open house, and I included some of the notes from the open house in the manager's report section in the packet. I don't want to talk too much about it tonight, because after that meeting, I talked to a lot of residents. They said, please let me know when this issue comes up. So we kept all the sign-in sheets, and we'll be able to broadcast when we do make that decision. I think one of the next steps we should do is have that general discussion of what we want to do and get that detailed concept plan funded for, so that we can see exactly the legal side and the engineering side. I think a lot of the questions that were asked at that meeting, we really don't have the answers until we have that design concept plan of what direction we want to go towards. So that's something that you might think about. I think maybe on March 17th, we look at having that discussion. If not the first meeting in April, we don't want to let this momentum dry up too much. As Dr. Lindstedt said, we hosted Sunrise Christian folks here for a mock trial. It was really nice. Their teacher's former council member, Peggy O'Donnell. And so she was here when I first got here, and it was really half the class after the city council city council meeting goes with Chief Atterbury, and they give them half of them have to stay with me and learn about city operations. And I give them basically what I give a lot of our community partners, how's the city doing? How are we growing? And it was a joy to watch Mrs. O'Donnell in the stands going, "Oh my gosh, Ted, you guys are doing that. You're doing that." So it's really neat to see over the past 10 years just how much we've grown and what we're doing. Again, we also presented to the women in commercial real estate. We hosted an event for them. It was a really great event. Paula did a great job with me, kind of communicating, but there was a good 50 people there for that. The rec center is getting their new playground as we speak. When they rolled out the turf, there was a rip in it, so they had to order a new one. As you can see, it's already going down, but they got about 1 to 2 more days left, and that'll be complete. Councilmember McIntosh sent me an email and said the horse was gone at Eagle Lake Park. And I guess first it was a little bit broken, so we called out the guys to fix it. And then he said, well, then the very next day it was gone. So I got concerned, but we found it. Somebody, I think some vandals took it and threw it in Eagle Lake. So what we're going to do, because it's under warranty, the equipment folks that installed it's going to do maybe a little more robust one for us, and something that you can't just pull a pin out and chuck. So as you know, we don't experience these problems too often, but I remind residents to keep an eye out. If you see anybody doing anything wrong, please let the police know or tell them to stop. I did add a little section, and I probably should have said at the beginning of the meeting, we want to discuss the 53rd and Woodlawn, or 53rd Street multipath at the end of the meeting today. We have a few updates on that, as well as the crossing. We want to invite everybody to the chamber luncheon this week on Thursday. It's hosted at the old Sked building in Sunflower Commerce Park. Please come. It's free lunch. And however, if you wouldn't mind RSVPing so we know the head count. Also, Spring Festival is right around the corner. Mark that on your calendars. It's March 28th from 1 to 3. Tens of thousands of eggs get picked up pretty quick, and we also have tons of stuff for the kids. So that's all I have right now, Mayor. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Oh, very good. Thank you. I appreciate the updates and all the information. So,
Mr. Mayor, is
yes.
the stop sign discussion still on the agenda? I don't see it.
It's not listed as a stop signage, but it's down there as under discussion and future issues. It just doesn't say it to you, but my note says one ad about 53rd Street sidewalks. Okay, so we will talk about it, even though it's not on the official published agenda. It's in the notes. So, okay, so we didn't forget. All right. We'll move on to, unless there's other questions, move on to ordinances, resolutions, and final actions. So the first item is ordinance amending our fireworks codes. The city current fireworks ordinance contains vague language regarding dates and times for the sale and detonation of fireworks. And the city attorney has provided a draft ordinance and staff report in your packet. And the primary driver of this was last year as we got into the fireworks season, we found we had an unenforceable ordinance because it was ambiguous as to when you can actually detonate fireworks. We thought it said the right things, and when you looked at it, it said, no, it didn't. So anyway, that was the primary driver, and there were a couple of other add-ons, and I'll let Maria Schrock give us a briefing on that if she would like.
Thank you, Mayor Benaj. Going back to the ordinance, I've received some really helpful suggestions. One of those suggestions for the council to consider is when it comes to detonation times. The only way to really be clear about this after talking to multiple people, gathering input, especially when it comes to city staff and even citizens that have reached out to the city, it is breaking it down day by day. You never know if this day is going to be a Thursday, if this day is going to be a Friday, but just establishing them as to what those times are. This is very helpful to even to law enforcement so they know exactly what it is. And then when city staff publishes this information at the same time every year, there is no vagueness, there is no ambiguity. One of the suggestions was instead of ending at midnight, but actually ending at 11:59 p.m. Well, what is the benefit of that? If the end time is at 11:59 p.m., then that really is the end of the calendar day. Technically, 12 a.m. is the beginning of the next calendar day. Perhaps this would be easier for citizens to understand. Maybe this would be even easier for city staff. But if law enforcement has to become involved, if any type of a charging document needs to be used, it's very clear whether or not that occurred on the 5th of July, the day after. Another comment made was regarding insurance. When it comes to insurance, the city, of course, wants to make sure that that vendor is insured through the entire process. When they're unloading product, when they're present, when they are packing up their stand and leaving, that it's insured the entire time. So we have now added provision language for that. Another additional provision involves the fireworks vendor either displaying a 3-foot by 3-foot visible sign for the public showing the dates and times for detonations and sales, or the vendor providing flyers to their customers with that same information. I received some other questions too. For example, about cleaning up debris, if there should be a time frame specified as to when debris should be cleared up. And I agree completely that it should be the same, such as it should be cleaned up before 10 p.m. on July 5th of that same year. There was another question about perhaps we should clarify that the inspection will be of the area location where the detonation and sale takes place. And that makes sense to me as well. We can definitely include that language. The final thing was I received a question about why does the city only issue 4 permits per year for the sale of fireworks? I could not find anything specifically regarding that, but I do know that that was a question. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer. It's not required by statute. The city has the authority to allow less or more. It is completely up to the governing body. I will take any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, a couple things just on the reason for 4. I think the thinking behind that was we just want to put a limit on it. It's a little bit arbitrary. If we wanted to expand it to 6, I guess we could do that if we wanted to, but that's really the reason. You want to put some limit. You don't want to have 25 fireworks stands in the city of Bel Aire. That's probably a little bit of overkill, but someplace between 4 and 25 might be something we want to do. It's really up to the council what they want to do there. The other thing on the notices that I just noticed, or just not just noticed now, but I did notice when I was reviewing, it says that they have to put a sign, a 3x3 sign that tells the detonation times and the sales times. Is there any reason that we need to put up the sales times? I mean, they know what the sales times are, but the detonation time, I think, is the real issue that needs to be communicated to citizens so that they know what the rules are. And that's the same with the flyer that they would have passed out to clients as well. I mean, if there's some reason for the sales times, I'm willing to hear the ideas, but I don't know of any.
No, that'd be fine, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely. We can just keep for detonations only and not the sales.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a couple comments. So looking through it, and I totally understand the need to break out the date. And I remember we expanded this to make the dates match the sale dates, which I think was a great idea. One thing I would suggest is to simplify this a little bit more. And what I mean by that is, I don't know why detonation time and sales time wouldn't just be the same. I think you show sales 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I don't know why we wouldn't change either the detonation time, or obviously the detonation time being later is better. But I would suggest us considering sales times being 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I would also suggest that July 4th is 11 p.m. no matter what day of the week. That's an extra hour. We've already extended it to a full week or week plus. I guess I don't see the need to extend it an additional 2 hours when we've already extended it a whole week. That would be my thoughts. Then we could just get rid of that second, item that it does make it a little bit more confusing. And I'm sure it would be easier to, to deal with for PD too, just not having to worry about those differentiating days. Otherwise, I think it's generally good. Thanks for cleaning it up. That's just my thoughts on it.
So I think there is a good reason to have detonation times and sales times, a little separation there, because if you can sell it till 10 o'clock in the evening, but you can't detonate it, what good is that? Right? Especially if it's the last day of the season.
Right now, Mayor, they match. So the sales time and the detonation time are 10 p.m. I was suggesting
Oh,
that
are
we
they?
move. I was suggesting we move the sales time to 9, so it matches. I kind of see what you're saying, but I would probably lean on sales times ending an hour earlier.
I
pushing
thought
an
it was
hour
that's the way it
later.
was written, but maybe you're
Right.
seeing, maybe I'd misread.
But I see what you're saying. But
Okay.
I would prefer to move the time of sales to 9 p.m. if we're going to have a 10 p.m. cutoff.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Thanks.
Just to try to be more consistent and make it more clear. I like the idea of breaking it down by dates, though. I do think I heard a lot of those same questions and comments, so appreciate the being more clear.
Mr. Mayor.
Sandberg.
I think I saw Chief's hand go up. I had a question for him because we changed this in the fall of 2022. And have we really never tried to apply it until we had issues in 2025? Or how did we go through 3 seasons and we just found out this was unclear? Surely we've had more
Lieutenant
complaints.
Fox looked at it. I think maybe somebody called him with a question. He looked at it, analyzed it, and just had this realization, that's just not right.
Okay.
And then I think he approached Schrock and through some discussions, we realized we needed to do something else
Okay.
to clarify it. And then there was a question about the times on the signs, on the signage. I think that's more for the people who have the tents or the locations to point at when those latecomers come, and they just keep coming.
That makes sense. Yeah.
We're closed. We finished at
Yeah.
whatever time you select.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's for the benefit of the vendor
Hey,
instead of
I'm
for
good
our
with that.
benefit.
I mean, they can always add that. Just saying, you were just saying we shouldn't mandate it that they add that.
Well, I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, one other thing I was going to say while you were up here, I know we had a lot of discussion about when people feel like something is unjust. This firework issue was like probably a top 3 most response issue since I've been on city council about people's feelings one way or the other. What are your thoughts about the Friday and Saturday issue? Because I thought the exact same thing that Councilmember Dean said, just make it across the board and we don't have to be confused about what day it is. But do you feel like if it's a Friday or Saturday, realistically, people are going to go on till midnight anyway? What's your feeling as a reasonable enforcement?
I'm with Ms. Schrock. Say your dates fall on a Sunday. Maybe the 4th is on Sunday going into Monday, and you've got it at midnight. So that means people are going to shoot off until midnight on a Sunday night when everybody's going to try to get to work. And
Sorry, I agree with the 11:59 thing, but oh, okay, sorry. Oh, I thought you were
Yeah.
saying the 11:59 to midnight issue. Gotcha.
Well, yeah, they're
Doesn't
going to
matter.
shoot to 11:59 on a Sunday. So, I have my own opinions. That's, as it's going to be right now, that's a lot of fireworks and a lot more complaints. I think we didn't get dispatched to very many complaints last year. I think dispatch got 21, but the majority of those went to the call center and never really got dispatched to us. So we didn't really get a great number of complaints. That's probably consistent each year. We don't get a lot of complaints. We have a few heavy complainers, but I think people expect that the population is going to shoot off fireworks. And this year, I just anticipate that it's going to be more than normal because of the anniversary of our country. So I think a lot of people are going to be celebrating a little bit more. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just trying to match up, if people are going to do it anyway. And I know what residents come back and say, hey, you don't just go off of what everybody's going to do, no matter what the law says. But I know we had some of that discussion in 2022 about trying to be reasonable about what
And-
people are probably
and
going to do.
You said something there. People are going to do it. Okay. And they might exceed it a little bit. So I think that's why you have to set some guidelines and iron it down for folks so that if they call you at home, you've got a firm set of guidelines for them to follow. Yeah, if they choose to go outside that, they can meet me, or one of my folks. But hopefully we get people to comply with whatever rules you set.
Sure. So do you agree or disagree that we should add an hour or two to 4th of July to 11 p.m. when it's not Friday or Saturday and go to 11:59 on Friday and Saturdays? Or do you feel like it would be okay to?
Well, I think that's a little late. That's
Okay.
when we start getting probably
Okay.
I can look into when those complaints maybe come in. I think I can do that, but I imagine from 11 to 12, that's when it starts to get you start getting more complaints because people are trying to get to bed.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions or discussions? Mr. Proctor?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, I think I like the idea of just calling it good at 10, whether it's weekday or weekend, because there are plenty of people that are trying to get to bed even, they got church on Sunday and maybe they serve early, who knows, but they got reason to get up early. I also living up, in the area for a few years, it seems like there's a bit of a witching hour effect too, depending on how long people have been celebrating between the 10 to 11 or midnight. So I think 10 o'clock might be a good time to just call it good, keep it uniform.
It does feel like, I'll make one more comment to that. It does feel like if you set the time late, there's still people shooting them past that. They'll be past 1 o'clock. So if you have a 10 or 11, maybe you get them done by midnight, most of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like we've been pretty fair with how much we've expanded it the last time. So
Yeah.
Make it simple for people to understand, not make it confusing.
The issue with fireworks, in my experience here, is there's not any one good solid answer. We just have to come to an agreement of what we're going to do and just do it without the ambiguity that we had in the current ordinance. And so I'm not disagreeing with you at all, Mr. Proctor. It's just we just as a group have to decide what are we going to do. Okay. So, and that can be done by motion or discussion, either way. So,
Mr. Mayor, I would like to just let council know there are 6 items if you make your motion that I need clarity on. I should have brought a whiteboard of some sort. The first one that I need clarity on when you make your motion is it 9 a.m. to 10 p.m.? 2, the 4th of July. Does it end at 11 or 11:59, depending upon the day of the week? The third is the mandate. Are vendors required to keep a 3x3 sign or flyers or both? The fourth is, now that we're talking times, sometimes it's not private, there are public displays, and it's possible for the 250th anniversary, your public display, do you want it to correspond with ending at 10 or 11, following the same days of the week? If it's a Friday or a Saturday, it's 11. And then the fifth is clearing debris. A really good comment. That debris should be cleaned up by 10 p.m. the following day of that year. And then number 6, the last one, the inspections. Should it go ahead and say location and area, which I do believe that's a very good recommendation. And I'm glad to say those again if I need to, Mr. Mayor, but I just wanted to share that it would be to approve it as amended with the clarity of those 6 items. And then if there's a second, we can go into discussion.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I can start to try to clarify and we'll see if we can get consensus. I'd like to see the sales times be 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. all days. That would be my thought. And then detonation, all 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. with the exception of July 4th, no matter what day of the week, and that would be 11 p.m. That would be my thoughts on those items. The other ones I didn't track as much, but I think the commercial display could match the July 4th 11 p.m. as well. I don't think that would be an issue in my mind, just to match that.
Any response regarding the mandate of 3x3 sign or flyers or both?
I don't have any real thoughts on that.
Well, I think Chief made a good point there. I think probably leave it the way it's written. That's what I think, just based upon his point, that it gives the vendors a chance to say, no, we're closed because the ordinance says.
Is the mandate either or is it and?
It could be either or both.
I think it's an and.
How's it currently written?
Oh,
Currently, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Maria,
what line is it on?
I don't think I read that.
234.
Mr. Mayor, I think you had a good point, and I still think that we should minimize the mandates and only say what we really intend to mandate. They can always put whatever they would think helps them if they want to add to their sign so that they can defend themselves. That's fine. It's not illegal. Just we shouldn't add to the mandate any more than what I think we all want is the times for detonation. A reminder for that.
okay.
And I'm okay with a little longer on weekends too. But, if I had to do it, I'd move them all back an hour. I go to bed early.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McIntosh.
a question for Maria. So would it be appropriate to, on this sign thing, would it be appropriate to have a recommendation in here? Say, hey, we mandate detonation times. We recommend you also put sales times.
That is appropriate. That's fine.
Okay.
So keep in mind, any of these changes that you're tweaking have to be included in the motion. So that's why she listed the 6 items. So if somebody's going to make this motion, they've got some.
Do we really need the
clarity.
motion tonight?
I don't know that we have to do this tonight. That's really, the thing is, we had the permits on agenda for tonight. And so I said, hey, and Ms. Schrock and I had this discussion about it's not fair to approve these permits and then come back later and say, oh, by the way, here are the rules. We changed them. But she did preview all the applicants with that. We are looking at changing these rules. So they're not going to get surprised by that, even if we do wait till next council meeting to make the approvals. But I think regardless, we got to tell Ms. Schrock what we want to do so she can put that into an appropriate ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question about basically the enforcement? Sometimes it's easy to walk into a fireworks tent and say, there's your 3x3 sign. I can put up that sign. But as far as handing out flyers to every customer, how would you like us to enforce that regulation?
I wouldn't. I think the sign is fine. I think we have to think about the enforcement sign on detonation times and things like that. Yeah.
That's all. That was my only thought is, I'm not sure how we can enforce that. So I think if you guys are undecided about one or the other, the 3x3 foot sign would probably be the best course to enforce from the city's perspective.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McIntosh.
I'd like to attempt this motion.
Okay. You're going to attempt it. Good.
On a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the fireworks code as amended, and the amendments are 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. sales on all days. In 11 p.m. detonation time on July the 4th, regardless of the day of the week it falls on. We mandate a 3x3 sign, which must include detonation times, and a recommendation that they also include sales times on that sign. I don't propose that we have anything about flyers. Public displays shall end at the same time as the general public may detonate fireworks, which is 10 p.m. on all days except July the 4th, 11 p.m. on July the 4th. Let me find my notes. Section 6.4.5J shall also include a time frame for clearing of debris. Something to the effect that the public display detonation, whoever does it, must clear all area of all debris before 10 p.m. on July the 5th of the same year. And a clarification of section 6.4.6, which will clarify that the inspection will be of the area or location where the detonation or sale of fireworks will take place. And recommend and authorize the mayor to sign.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. McIntosh, and I won't try to repeat it all. I did make notes here, but do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second for Mr. Dean. I do have one comment. The public display issue, I think is, although we've never had any that I'm aware of, I think the whole purpose of that whole part of the ordinance is for public display anytime, not just during 4th of July. We could somebody come in with an application in September and says, I want to do a public display. And that was the whole purpose of the public display section of that ordinance. So I'm a little curious as to that. I'm okay with limiting the time. I think that's fine, but I don't know that specifying a date on it would make sense, but that's my only concern about that.
Can I amend my motion?
You certainly may.
Okay, for the public display end time.
I wanted to say something first. I think you said it correctly. You said when you said the public displays, I think it was based on just the day that would match the general public. So I think that part was fine.
Okay.
Just to clarify, I heard that correctly.
Okay.
So I think your original motion covers what you're talking about, Mayor,
Okay. Well, that's fine. Then
because it was very specific. It was to the time that matched the public, not necessarily July 4th, but I thought you did a good job reading that.
okay. Thank you.
So just to be clear, we don't want to address extended sales. I don't think we do because somebody brought it up. And number two, I think the issue with that 4 was a remnant of the days where we required fireworks sellers to partner with a not-for-profit. And we got rid of that back in 2022. So I'm not opposed to upping that number. In terms of locations in a city this size, I don't think, we're going to get much higher than 4, but I'd be okay to opening it up if we wanted more competition. So those were just my comments. And if there's no interest, it's not a huge deal.
Well, we have a motion here that does not include that issue. So I think we should consider this motion, but I'm not trying to call for a vote yet because I don't want to call off discussion. But that's not included in this motion. So.
Right. I want to bring it up now before
Okay.
possible amendment.
One
Proctor.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I was just gonna quality control check with Ms. Schrock if we covered all the points to make it perfectly clear what we're voting on.
That's a very good question. So what I have is 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. for sales and detonations and that they match one another. As for the 4th of July, it would end at 11 p.m. regardless of the day of the week, whether it's a Monday or if it's a Friday, it would end at 11. That is also recommended for any public displays. If there was going to be a public display, it would end at 10 p.m. But on the 4th of July, regardless of the day of the week, the public display would end at 11. The other points are that a 3x3 sign with the detonation times would be included with a recommendation for sales dates as well. There would not be any requirement for flyers. The additional information will be regarded for clearing of debris, that it would be by 10 p.m. the next day of that same year. Regarding inspection, it would be for that area and location. All of those items were listed that were discussed, and there is nothing here regarding extended sales. So yes, Councilmember McIntosh covered everything, and that is how I understand it. And if I misunderstood, please let me know.
A couple of quick clarifications. I wrote down, you said 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for sales, and I don't know if that was intentional, but that was more aggressive than I had said, but I think that's what you had stated. And then secondly, it was brought to my attention about cleaning debris, and how we're going to handle that every day, because people could shoot off on a Monday and leave it out there till Friday. So I think it's probably wise to consider how we write that so that it's kept up with and not just piled up. I didn't catch that the first time, but I think that's worth considering how that's written, just so that our Bel Aire isn't just a bunch of trash with fireworks all week. So people are keeping up with picking it up. It'll be the worst on July 4th, obviously, but just a consideration.
So, Ms. Schrock, just to clarify, the two things that Mr. Dean just brought up, the sales time and this debris cleanup, do you understand those to be in the current motion that's on the table?
In the current motion, I understand the debris that it will be cleared before 10 p.m. on July 5 of that same year, which also mirrors another portion of the ordinance that talks about all debris to be cleared on July 5 by 10 p.m. of that same year. Then what was the other question?
The sales times, I think there was Mr. Dean thought the sales time was 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Oh.
That wasn't my note. My note was 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., but I just wanted to clarify, what did you?
I wrote
have?
9 to 10,
You had 9 to 10.
9 a.m. to 10
Is
p.m.
that what you intended when you made your motion?
That's what I
Okay.
wanted to clarify.
Okay. So just to make sure we're clear on that. So just to clarify this, is that okay with you?
I'm
Because you
okay with-
seconded the
I
motion.
am okay with that. I just
Okay.
wrote down 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So just clarifying.
Okay. All right. Mr. Proctor.
Okay, just another thought in general on in the line of littering. At what point are fireworks considered litter if they're just left out by somebody? Because I guess I'm asking if it's already in the code.
Good point.
Currently, the code states that debris is to be cleared by the 5th of July, the day after, by 10 p.m. However, what was noticed is that there was another area of the ordinance that was silent, and it was line, let me go to it. It was section 645J, and I'm going to go to that right now. 645, which is line 106,
Yeah.
which talks about a public display of fireworks, and it states that all debris shall be cleared, but it didn't say when the debris of that public event should be cleared. I believe that's why council member had mentioned, well, if we're telling the general public to clear all debris on July 5 by 10 p.m., why not include that same guidance on public displays as well? Have all debris from the public display clean by July 5 at 10 p.m.
Yeah, Ms. Schrock. So I guess I was just posing the question of, if we're not picking up our trash out of the street, would that not be generally considered litter anyways and against code?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so, so I guess the upshot of what your question is that, yeah, you can't just leave this debris there. You need to clean it up because it's littering otherwise. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. I think that's good. Any other discussion on the motion that we have on the table?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David?
I do recall what Councilmember Hamburg said, that the 4 was restricted due to charities being involved. I don't think we still need the 4. I do think the public displays probably need to be allowed to go a little longer on a weekend. I'm not keen on restricting the weekends anyway, but my main concern with it is that I don't want to vote on something that's not even written down. It's still a little bit nebulous, and I would like to postpone this, but that's my feel.
Okay, so you're, and I'll ask our parliamentarian to please call the rule on this, but I think that you can make a sub motion to table this, or you can just leave it alone and vote against it when we vote. But
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to table this until it's properly written.
I'll second.
okay, I have a sub motion to table so that it's properly written.
But I did want to ask, what if we postpone this? You had mentioned permits. I know this is about the time people get their permits out. If we go to the 17th, is that going to create any issues?
I will reach out to all 4 applicants, let them know what occurred tonight, that this is most likely tabled to the next council meeting, the specific items that are being discussed, so everyone understands what is happening. We do have some applications and it talks about sales times on there, but at least that way they will know what is occurring. There is nothing prohibiting you, the governing body, from moving this to the next council date.
And since we're in discussion, I guess one more clarification. Do we have enough openings for the applications we've received? Is there any reason to allow more? Okay.
Yeah, Melissa takes those applications.
We
so
didn't
she-
get 5 applications. did we?
No, we did not.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
We have 3.
Okay, good question. All right.
Good to know.
All right, so I have a sub motion that we need to first vote on. So that sub motion is to table until we have this properly written. So I'm going to call, unless there's more discussion, I'm going to call a vote on the sub motion. All in favor of the sub motion to table, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. That makes the original motion moot. We'll move on to item B. So this is zoning map. Is it updated each year to include changes in zoning district, zoning types? And the updated zoning map reflects changes from August of 2024 through December of 2025. And on February 12, 2026, the Planning Commission reviewed the zoning map and approved the proposed zoning map changes and presented and approved it 5-0. So Director of Community Development, Paula Downs, is here to available to answer questions. And I do have a script I need to go through. So I'll go through the script and we'll intertwine those questions at the same as the appropriate. So, so if the council approves this, it's an adoption by an ordinance. So first of all, disqualification and quorum determined. So we do have a quorum. I have that is fine. So I do need affirmative or negative questions as to whether anyone here needs to disqualify themselves from participating in this case of the council members. And I'm not seeing anybody that's saying they do need to qualify themselves, so let the record show that no one was disqualified. Second issue is ex parte communications. Has anyone received any verbal or written ex parte communications prior to the item agenda as they would like to share? And I let the record show I am not seeing anyone who's saying that they've had any ex parte communications. City clerk, please advise, have we received any protest petitions? So let the record show no protest petitions have been received. And the summary hearing, has everyone received and reviewed the unapproved minutes of the Planning Commission for February 12th, 2026? And it appears everyone is saying yes. So let the record show that everyone responded yes, that they have. So having determined all the council members have received the required information, city staff will provide the first report. So let Ms. Downs now provide her report.
This is not much more expanded on what the mayor introduced in his script, but this year you'll see that in 2025, between that August and December date, we had 8 ordinances related to zoning changes, which are reflected on the map. And then the map, the other improvement that we made was to delineate the colors a little bit more starkly. They were running together a little bit. It was hard to tell what that was. What you will not see on this map, just for pure clarification, is that some of these zoning districts have multiple use or district allocations, right? So it could be R5, R4, R3, it could be all commingled. And so it's really hard to figure that out. We are working on maybe thinking about how we put it online with overlays so that people are very clear about all the different districts that might fit into each one. But this is the predominant district. We also made sure that we heavily colored the lines related to our city boundaries and then our extraterritorial influence areas of influence. So we had a great suggestion made related to the colors also being supported by either a number or a symbol to make it even clearer on the key as to what district is displayed there. So we're going to work on that suggestion. So we thank you for that. But otherwise, based on that, if you have any questions, I've put in there the general locations of where those zoning districts took place. Changes took place over the past year, but we're recommending that you approve the 2025 Bel Aire City zoning map.
Any questions from Ms. Downs?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McIntosh?
just a point of clarification. So this map is simply reflecting what has already happened.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
If we approve this tonight, can we get a copy of it, put up on that wall?
We can. It just won't be as dynamic as what you might be able to view online. I'm hoping to get the overlays on there to make it really clear. But yes, this can be printed. Now that we've changed the colors and the mapping stuff, it'll be easier for you to read from a distance.
And the reason for that is that there has been comment made that sometimes planning commission, sometimes city council doesn't really know what's going on in a particular area. And having that map would be very helpful to
I do
everyone.
bring a 11.5 by 17 copy of the zoning map in each planning commission meeting so that they are aware and know what's happening. So they're clear about it and they have it. But yes, we are planning on putting it on the wall now that we've changed the colors and the dynamics, and moving forward, it'll be easier for you to see from a distance.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Proctor.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Downs, I have a question on the map. There's a color in here that doesn't, I'm not finding it in the key.
Okay.
I think it's purple or pink and kind of down towards the bottom left. Do you see what I'm talking
I
about?
do see what you're talking about. Thank you. I don't know.
All right.
I'd have to look at that area to understand what's there.
Mostly
because it's got
vacant.
an overline.
That's mostly vacant, but I don't know how it's zoned.
I don't either. And it's not ag, but it almost looks like there's a, it almost looks like it is a C1 with hash marks on it. Like there's an orange book behind it. I did not catch that. Thank you for that.
Is that our public works facility?
It is, but
Is
it
that
should
city-
still have a zoning.
Gotcha. I was just saying
That's why I'm
what
saying it
is.
looks like it's in the C1 with a hashtag over it, but I don't know if that hashtag is indicating that it's because it's a public
There's also
parcel.
there's also another peculiar blue and white spotted one up near where the new public works area is.
Yeah, that is the public indicated building, but I don't know what the C1 with the sort of black lines over it looks like. The existing probably that we're switching, but the blue is the public works building or public land.
Ms. Downs, Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor, there was this same question came up during the planning commission meeting.
Yes.
And I believe the answer was it may have been a placeholder at some point that was just never changed.
The purplish one, but the blue one definitely is the public works building or public land that we own, but there's other areas in the city that know that. So I will make sure that we update that or clarify that.
Because in both
Okay.
cases, regardless of it being public land, it is zoned something. So it would be more correct if we got that updated. That was a good catch.
Correct.
Okay,
There
so
should not be a shaded blue where the new public works building is because it's all in the M1 industrial district. So the blue needs to come off and it needs to remain gray.
The portion that's in Sunflower Park,
Yes.
Yep. because it was a part of that PUD or whatever.
Yes.
Zoned
It's all a PUD development in that industrial park.
Gotcha.
There's no delineation from that.
okay, we'll move on to, unless there's other questions, if we've got all of our questions answered. We'll move on to finish through the script. So written communications, have we received any written communications? Or from our clerk? No written communications. Let the record reflect that no written communications have been received. Public comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this matter? And seeing no one volunteering, and we'll move on to council deliberations. We've already had quite a bit here, but if you have any more that you would like to say or comment on, this is time to do it. So then the closing remarks, we'll go on and vote on this. But if anyone is aggrieved by the final decision of the city council on this matter, they have the rights provided at law. And we want to thank everyone for participating. So I'll now, we'll entertain a motion. If we're ready for that.
Mr. Mayor, I did have one other comment I wanted to make along the lines of just looking into it. So the area that the city owns along 254 between Rock and Webb, that could be a potential future frontage road. Part of it is shown green agriculture, that corner little triangle piece, and then the other two slivers that are just north of the area that's zoned industrial. Are those little slivers that we own zoned industrial, or is that something that we need to clean up too? Are those pieces that we own technically agricultural? Just another thing to clarify.
If you can clarify where you're looking at the map, I'm sorry.
So 254, so
Yep.
far north.
Yep.
Rock Road, there's that green triangle.
Yes.
That piece is city-owned property. But I believe the two little slivers to the east of it, along 254, are also city-owned. So the clarification there is what are those two pieces of property owned by the city zoned? I know we rezoned all of this that's hatched industrial, but those are all privately owned by a developer. So just to clarify those two pieces as well. Sorry, just figured I'd throw that out there since we'd cut something else. Ted, did you follow that? Okay, just making sure you understand.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David,
motion to adopt an ordinance incorporating an amended zoning district map of 2025 into the city code as presented and authorize the mayor to sign.
motion by Mr. David. Do we have a second?
Do we need to mention the cleanup parts or just go for it?
If you want those as part of the motion, yes, they should be mentioned if you want.
Can
them.
I second and throw in
No, you cannot. We have a motion
I'll
on the
amend my
table.
motion
Can you-
so you want as amended in it
With
Okay.
those two-
with those two amendments. Okay. As amended, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Okay,
Now you're good.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, second.
thank you. I have a motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Proctor. And this is going to be a roll call vote. So I'll ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
And Mr. Mayor, before the roll call vote, what were the two amendments one last time? I apologize.
The two were clarifications that were discussed. The color of the public works and then the two colors of the 254 adjacent.
The real issue is that's city property.
Oh, okay. That's actually why, yeah, just all the discussions that we had on the colors of the map being updated.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Greg David?
We're calling for a
Oh,
vote.
excuse me. So sorry. How do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Tyler Dean?
Aye.
Miss Emily Hamburg?
Aye.
Mr. Brandon McIntosh?
Aye.
And Mr. Mike Proctor?
Aye.
And the motion carries 5-0, Mayor.
All right, very good, thank you. Next item is the city maintenance repairs for 2026. And that project is bid now for consideration. And Mr. Tim Azier with PEC is here to present the scope of work. And is Ms. Stevens on?
I believe she's on.
Is she on? So she's going to join us via Zoom. I think she had some family issues she had to go out of town for. So anyway. Mr. Tim.
Mayor and Council. I'm just going to go through and give you a brief overview of what this project touches. As you can see, we've got the majority of the Woodlawn and 53rd intersection there with the corner pieces that are shown in green. If you can see that are full replacement depth. So 8-inch rock on covered by 7-inch asphalt, just to widen out those to match the other side of the street for truck turning movements, things like that. The rest of it will be mill and overlaid. And then the smaller graphic off to the left, that's a 2-inch mill and overlay for the length of that stretch of road from 45th to 53rd, almost starting just a little north of 45th.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a quick question on that? What's that do to the bike lanes when you restripe it?
Yikes. I'm trying to go back, but that's not going well for me.
You're going the wrong direction.
Yeah, all buttons go in one direction. There we go. So I think where we're getting at here is the next graphic. We'll take the shoulders off of that for this stretch of Woodlawn and convert it to a 3-lane section with new striping after we get the new surface on. Does that answer your question?
No. So
Okay.
how much is left on the shoulder for bikes still?
There will be no shoulder for bikes. This is converting the pavement that is out there, I believe the total width, to 3 lanes of pavement. 1 center left turn lane for the length of, and 1 travel lane in each direction.
Right now, there's technically no bike lanes. It's just a wide
It's a
shoulder.
shoulder, yeah.
Right. Oliver, we have it striped for bike lanes specifically, but I think that's what you're
That's the question.
asking.
It's a nice shoulder right now for
Right.
bikes.
Yeah, you're gonna lose that for bikes. And so I think the rule is, and Mr. Atterbury can correct me if I have this wrong, but I think the rule is you just ride in the lane as a vehicle in the lane, if you're a bicyclist on that. Yeah, if there was no marking, so, yeah. Thank you.
Any more questions about that 3-lane conversion while we're here? as we get to the intersection. That's how that striping will look for the most part, although there'll be more discussion about that later on in the meeting. At 53rd and Rock, we are replacing that entire intersection with new base and new asphalt and extending that to the west to pick up some problem areas there. And then as we move south from that intersection at 53rd and Rock, that'll be another 2-inch mill and overlay for the surface. Additional areas and neighborhoods are Farmstead north of 45th Street, as shown here, including part of that court. Stop me if you have any questions. Perryton for this block, and Tyler, I'm not sure that or Tyler or Ted, I'm not sure I know which one that is in reference to the overall city.
This was, yeah, just a small
What-
section we missed in 2025.
Yeah, the one that was left over.
Perryton and Edgemore is where it starts and runs over to the intersection of Perryton and Perryton.
And this slide, restriping, just showing what it looks like now. And I don't know that we have a better graphic of.
No, that's it.
Okay,
It's restriping.
I can go back to that other slide if that's helpful. So we have received bids. Those, I believe, should be in your packet. I'm happy to answer any questions on those that you may have. Or any other questions for that matter.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
can you just talk about the timing of this? I know rock and woodlawn work has to be done during the summer.
Correct. The specs that went out with this, and pardon me, I don't have the dates in front of me, but essentially all this work has to be done in the summer when school is not in session. All of it must be complete, substantially complete by the date, and I believe it's August 17th, although that may be wrong, going from memory.
Yeah.
Okay, August 17th, which should be coincide with the opening of school. Substantial completion means that the road itself is open and ready for traffic. Final completion, which may occur after that, is just general cleanup around the site, but the roads themselves would be open to qualify for substantial completion. So it shouldn't affect school traffic.
So just to help supplement, Woodlawn and Rock must be completed while school is out between May 25th and August 17th. These dates are not optional, and they're part of the contract documents, include liquidated damages of $1,400 a day if deadlines are not met.
And that's for Woodlawn and Rock, right?
Woodlawn and Rock, yes.
Just to clarify.
I'm glad to hear that we have that in there because that was a big
Oh, it's-
concern about the school.
It is a very good thing.
issue.
I'm glad that you guys took the time
Especially
to
with
figure that
Woodlawn.
out.
Especially with Woodlawn with 2 schools there. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
and Tim, just along those lines, can you talk about communication? I know you guys are managing the project, what you're going to require, even when school's out, those are well-traveled roads.
Communication with the public.
With the
Of
public,
the
yes.
contractors. So
Yeah,
typically, we would try to do door knockers and supplement anything we can do with city staff, put it on the website, put it out in whatever social media you guys are willing to assist with. I don't know that that's a great solution, although we'll still probably try to do that because door knockers are typically in a neighborhood or along an arterial street that you're working on. And we'll definitely do that when we're going to resurface, but it doesn't notify the traveling public as a whole, as well as just the people that live on that street. So every contractor does something different and some of it is more effective than others. But what we have found is that the most effective thing is to keep you informed, to keep staff informed so that it can be discussed in council meetings just like this. And the public can follow along. It can be posted on the city website, things like that. This is, I fear, not a big enough job to create its own website or something like that. And I don't know how much traffic it would get, but we can, if we get to a point where we feel like what we are doing is ineffective, we can certainly make improvements along the way. If just notifying city staff and local residents on the street isn't enough.
And part of your role, though, like you said, is you're going to make sure that whatever the contractor's doing, or if something changes, you're going to make that clear to us to get it out to the public one way or the other. Thank you.
One, just a note on the communication, there's a church along Woodlawn there that's pretty active. And so I think they probably need some more advanced communication, so they put it in bulletin or whatever they want to do, but just however they want to communicate that with
Yeah,
parishioners.
the
because-
contractors will typically work all of that out with each individual resident, and something like that that's got a significant traffic volume that goes in and out every day, they will be accommodated so that they can maintain access at all times, except for when you're milling directly in front of or servicing directly in front of their immediate drives. And then we will make sure that one drive is open at a time so they still have access. But it will be a brief period where that machine is literally traveling in front of that drive where you just can't provide access.
I think there are actually 4 accesses. I might be wrong about that.
Yeah.
Along there. So I think it's probably something to be worked out, but it's just a communication that needs to happen.
And that's typically done at the contractor level.
Right. Okay.
And we'll be there to facilitate however we can along the way if needed.
Good. Thank you.
Just to clarify too on communication for just the general public, is there, was the plan to have message boards the week before, like we've done on some other bigger RTR projects, or no?
I'm not sure what's in the contract on message boards, but I know we have abilities to get them, and we can possibly work with Tim and the contractor to put those out. That's what was going through my mind during this whole discussion. So I think we'll be able to work with traffic control and get message boards, because I know that's been a hot topic on other projects.
I mean, one thing to note is, I mean, these mill and overlay projects do tend to happen fairly quickly.
Yeah.
So they usually don't have as big of an impact as, say, a full road reconstruction with the phasing and all that stuff.
No, but
And it's usually during the day.
if we do have a detour or something, it's going to be something they're going to want to sign and also give advance notice to.
Right.
I think we'll just have to work out what the appropriate messaging is.
How ahead of time, maybe a week or whatever. And then is there a plan for a pre-construction meeting on this one at all, or?
We will have one. It just hasn't been scheduled.
It'll be
yet.
internal though. It won't be a public open house. or
No,
anything.
it'll be an internal
Just to
with the
clarify.
contractor and city staff and us.
Sounds good. Thank you.
If there is no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I move we accept the bid from Kansas Paving in the amount not to exceed $675,243 for the 2026 street maintenance and repairs, and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Mr. David. Any additional questions or discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I was just going
Mr.
to
Proctor.
ask real quick. So I noticed Kansas Paving was working on the Aurora Park stuff. I mean, do we have any reason to believe that we're going to have any trouble with them getting stuff done, or was that mainly not to do so much with them as circumstances?
I'll answer that question if somebody else was gonna.
Or
I
think
was
it's a
just
staff
gonna
question.
step in and say, I recently had them on a project in Keachai. If you guys are familiar, that Keachai Road in Oliver Wampo project that was just completed last year.
Yes.
They were the prime contractor for that. And we had almost no problem with them at all. And feel free to talk to city staff in Keachai. I think they'll echo my sentiments that it was a very well-run project, and it was well received by the staff, and they did a really good job, and we were really happy with the result. We were the inspectors for that. We were also the designers for that. I don't know if that makes any difference or not, but that's the same combination we have here. So we'll be there to help city staff with whatever comes up throughout the process and be able to mitigate any issues that come about. That's what we're here for. So.
Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of curious because it didn't seem like that project went real smooth. I didn't know, maybe
it
the ins
did
and
not.
outs.
You're absolutely right. It did not go smooth. Yeah.
A lot of factors went into that project. Utility relocates was the main prime contributor to the issues we had. we got an all clear and found out that we weren't all clear. What that did is push back the schedule. And then we have a particularly rainy year this year, which created bottlenecks in all construction. As much as we can talk about Aurora Park, which we've learned a lot of lessons in doing a residential street with open ditches in a older part. This is a much different project, I believe, than what that challenge faced.
Okay, fair enough.
I'd agree with that. This is a lot more straightforward.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the table to accept the bid from Kansas Paving. Is there any additional discussion and questions? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We have an executive session. We need about, I was given 15 minutes, but I think we can do this in 10. So I'm going to ask for a 10-minute executive session.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Do you want to do it once? Okay, Mr. McIntosh.
Make a motion to recess into executive session to discuss the performance review of the city attorney. The discussion will be pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1 to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel. Invite the city attorney and city manager. The meeting will be for a period of 10 minutes, and the open meeting will resume in city council chambers at 8:55 p.m.
I have a quick question. What's the appropriateness of having the city manager in this discussion? Was that a typo or is there a reason for that?
That was for him just to be present, but there is nothing prohibiting him from being present, only just for him to be aware.
Okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't just a typo. Okay. All right.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Mr. McIntosh, a second by Mr. David. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries 5-0 in executive session for 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting back to order. We held an executive session. No binding action was taken. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg,
I'm going to make a motion to extend the executive session by 15 minutes and resume in the regular meeting in chambers at 9:13 PM.
I'll second.
motion by Ms. Hamburg. Who was the second? Mr. David? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Back in executive session for another 15. Okay, we'll hold an executive session. I'm going to call the meeting back to order. We'll move on to the next item. This is a discussion and future issues. So one of the issues.
Mr. Mayor, can we do the 53rd Street sidewalk to get
Well,
some
that's
attendance out?
discussion. That's part of discussion and future issues, isn't it?
Yep, I have the water conservation discussion as A, so I just want to make sure we can jump to the 53rd Street sidewalk so we can get some people out of here.
That's your notes. Okay.
We'll get the projector back on. So I put a one pager in front of you. It's back here.
I got the big copy.
Right here, and it's the intersection of 53rd and Woodlawn. The white parts are the sidewalk that we're constructing from Oliver to Woodlawn. Where the page begins, there's also a gas line that runs kind of perpendicular there. We learned last week that the engineers on the project maybe assumed they were outside of the gas line to not create problems, but the gas company came about 2 weeks ago and said, hey, you need to move your sidewalk and file an easement. So that's kind of why we have the delay on this project. In the meantime, we've also been discussing how are we going to get pedestrians across this road. As Councilmember Dean mentioned, we had a meeting with PEC, who is working with us on the street maintenance project, as well as this traffic study that I'll invite Tim to review, not the sidewalk project. So there's really 3 different projects going on in the same area. So we're coordinating efforts. With the other party would be USD 259 and Isley School, which we have a meeting with on the 11th. What we're looking at today and what we want to try to decide is how do we want to move forward with the sidewalk project. If we stop the sidewalk project kind of right where the graph begins, so right here at the end, then the chart starts, we won't run into the gas line issues, and we can have the contractor start at Oliver, continue on till that point, stop, and then close out the project. What that leaves is this area to do with our street maintenance project in the summer. And that'll coincide with the restriping of Woodlawn. So you have 2 changes at once. And then I'll invite Tim over here to talk about the possibility of converting it from a 2-way stop to a 4-way stop. What that will do also is we reached out to KDOT and asked if we did stop the project right there, temporary, and put up a sidewalk closed until we can complete the project, it would save $90,000 on the KDOT project, which would be all city contribution. Not saying we're going to pocket that because we would have to construct this, but that's essentially what decision we kind of are discussing tonight. If we want to talk about that first, we can, and then have Tim come up and talk about the 2-way to 4-way conversation.
Well, I'd like to talk about that first, because if we do that, what you just suggested, stopping at what's virtually is the left side of the page on that sidewalk, we'll have a sidewalk that goes nowhere. And that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense with a project that is already a 1.5 years behind schedule. And that's just super frustrating. But I understand some of the engineering challenges that we now see that should have been addressed before. And we've had a discussion about that earlier today, so it's not new to folks. And so I'm concerned about having a sidewalk that goes to nowhere, but I'm also concerned about constructing a sidewalk that may end up having to be completely redone based upon a discussion you're going to have with USD 259 and this discussion that Mr. Azir is going to tell us here in a little while with his changing of that intersection to add those turn lanes and such. and maybe a four-way stop. So I'm a little concerned because in one sense, that all makes a lot of sense to do all that at once and just do that whole thing and take care of it. But it's extremely frustrating that we are at this point with a project that should have been done a year and a half ago. And now we're finding that we're going to build sidewalk to nowhere. But that's just my thoughts on it. It's like I told Ted and others earlier today, this is really going to be a city council decision because there's not a good answer here. There's just different options.
Mr. Mayor, so I guess, was there a complication on the right-hand side of the picture or just on the left-hand with the pipeline?
On the left side of the road, there was a conflict with the pipeline.
Okay,
And
so we're fine on the school side.
the school side is fine. It's just that how's it going to connect? And that's the question. So the additional thing that we didn't say, and so you reminded me, I probably need to say it, is there is a discussion of rather than the sidewalk going from the left side of the screen up to the intersection, is it goes from that left side of the screen down south a bit and then cross the road where it lines up with the entrance to the school. Okay. So that's the other discussion that's being done. I think that's going to be on March 11th with the USD 259. So,
Mr. Mayor, I was going to actually speak to try to hopefully also help with this because I was a part of the meeting and that was discussed very briefly, the note that you just made about going south. Ted, before I start though, I do have a quick question on the pipeline easement.
Sure.
How much time do you think we need to essentially allow the easement thing to get worked out and us to just build this project as is instead of waiting? As in, instead of piecing it into two different projects?
So I asked the engineer specifically that question today. He said 3 weeks now. Is it going to be 3 weeks? That's the hard part for me to put my head around. He said 3 weeks. And the element of that too is that's 3 weeks before they would let the contractor even start the project.
Right.
Right.
If we wanted to start.
because of the KDOT involvement in it, all these issues have to be cleared before they'll clear
Right.
the project to go.
And then the other thing I was gonna to point out was just that, Mayor, that you just talked about was the consideration of, and I've always been an advocate of making sure that we do this crossing the safest we can. And obviously that's within reason because there's a lot of different options, but there's a lot of things to consider, both cost, the distance from where they might cross and whether people would actually use the crossing if you go that far south. There's lots of factors. But I am really concerned with the safety of crossing Woodlawn as it currently is. And so that's where I think the conversation of the timing of this being finished, obviously outside of school time, so that it's done and ready for next school year is a consideration, I think, timing wise. Just like it is on the striping project or the road maintenance project where we want it done before, so it minimizes impacts to traffic. We have to think about impacts to the people wanting to use it as a crossing. I'm not a huge fan of building a sidewalk to nowhere, but if it makes sense because of providing a safe crossing, I would not like having a crossing there if we were not a four-way stop. Personally, I'm really concerned with that just off the bat. But I could also see what staff has presented to us and the challenges, how it might make sense to either A, delay the project enough to resolve the issues, which I'm not a huge fan of, or B, split the project into two and have the city take on a city-wide project instead of extending this KDOT project that, like you've said, Mayor, has been a challenge. I would just assume maybe B makes a lot more sense because we could have a little bit more control. We could build something that's safer and we could tell people until that crossing's there, it's not really a finished project. We're not encouraging anybody to cross Woodlawn by stopping it early and putting a sign up. No, it's not a great decision. You're right. It's kind of just choosing the best of the worst kind of situation. But I think I said everything that's kind of on my heart. The really concern I have with it is safety. And unless we can put in a safe crossing with a four-way stop, I'm really worried about that piece of it too.
Well, and the one thing to keep in mind, anything we build that's right of this left side of here, you're looking at a 3-week delay in the total project at least. Okay. If you truncate it at the left-hand side, and I'm not advocating for one or the other, but if you truncate it at the left-hand side and just do this later, you could probably start the project this week.
And one more thing we talked about that I threw out, I just wanted to share with council, is the decision to potentially run a sidewalk, which would be, again, a separate project south and not cross here, but cross a couple hundred feet. I don't know the exact number, but it's a few hundred feet to where it would line up with the school entrance. Not a huge fan of that one. I already mentioned, there's a lot of studies that show if you put a crossing too far, it just doesn't get used. People will jaywalk right there. And then secondly,
See that at Sunrise right now, they do that.
right. And it's tough to find the perfect spot to put it. But if we were thinking about, we're not sure where it's going to be, we could consider other options. I'm not sure I'm a fan of doing that though, because I think there's a couple of things to consider. The condition of Woodlawn, if we're going to do we're doing this road maintenance project, we're restriping it for it to be easier for traffic, turn lanes and all that. This is likely a 10-year plus condition that Woodlawn will be in. And I don't know that I'm a fan of spending a bunch of extra money to put a crossing south with the different lights and different style, because there's other options for people to not use it. I feel like this is a good solution as long as it has a 4-way. I would feel comfortable with it. If it didn't, I would probably not be comfortable with it. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, how was that part, the pipeline thing, missed a year and a half ago?
And I'm just going to tell you, based on what I know off the top of my head, maybe Mr. Henry can help with this. What I understand is they had this sidewalk actually a little bit further south, and the pipeline people said that's too close to our vent, and they wanted it moved. And so they moved it, and their assumption was they didn't need to revisit with the pipeline people about their movement because they thought it was out of the way. And bad assumption, pipeline people should have known how they resolved their issue, and that didn't happen. That communication didn't happen. That's when pipeline came in 2 weeks ago and said, hey, you have never told us how you resolved this. And then they told them here, as they had this discussion, you need to move this another 2 feet from where they planned it again, their second plan. So that's where they are today. And then that's part of what's going on. It's really aggravating that we've had
totally.
this situation. Okay.
And then, Mr. Mayor, if the city self-performed the remainder of that with it shifted to the pipeline's satisfaction, what's our cost estimate at the city level just to get it finished up that way and get it going, get the whole project moving now, but then complete from the left side of the picture to the 4-way? What I think it's got to be a 4-way stop. We got to move that thing to a 4-way stop with the crosswalk.
Well, that's his discussion
I
he's
know I'm
going to
kinda
have here
speaking
in
ahead.
just a little bit. But I don't know the cost of doing that. But here's what my gut tells me is it's going to be cheaper because it's not going to be involving KDOT, so we don't have to involve with all the
That's a good
U.S.
assumption.
Department of Transportation issues and rules. Okay, so I don't know what that cost will be, but what we're typically seeing is those guys double the cost. Okay.
And just to clarify that when you said, I think one of you said that this would potentially be put into the road maintenance project. So it'd be performed by somebody under contract, not necessarily by our staff.
Correct.
Okay. Just
Under contract. We're getting better at building them, but not that good.
Ms. Hamburg?
Yeah, along those lines, this is so frustrating. Does the engineer bear any responsibility or cost sharing here?
Something we can visit.
We had some interesting discussion today. Okay.
One more on that. If they go ahead and start the sidewalk, how long does it take to get to the sidewalk to nowhere? Could they do a change order afterwards to finish it up?
The contract is 40 days, which is actually quite a bit more. I imagine they'll knock it out really quick. once they get the green light. And that's the problem, is they got a red
Quicker than
light.
3 weeks to get the
Uh,
gas line decided.
I would not gamble with
Yeah.
with trying to just,
Remember, 40
there's-
working days is 2 months.
yeah.
I
Okay.
just wondered if they could do a change order at the end to finish it up.
Yeah. And that's something we can monitor. But I don't know the KDOT process well enough. I'm pretty sure they're not as flexible as that, but we'll try to work with them in that regards with that comment.
Ted, just to follow up, and that's great comments. One of the things that was talked about was the coordination effort between the road maintenance project and this project, and not doing the striping, trying to do it twice, essentially waiting to do the crossing when the new asphalt has been mill and overlay is complete. And then they come in and do all new paint instead of trying to put in a temp crossing and then a permanent. I think that was part of it too, is why it might be more
And I can give
advantageous to
Tim
put it in the road maintenance.
Tim the mic too. He's a traffic engineer and does a lot of these types of projects, so he might have some insight we
So
don't
before we
have.
make and we're not going to vote on this really so much. We're just giving the direction what we want to do. But before we actually make give that direction, we'd like to have Tim present his concepts for that intersection.
So at the direction of city staff and with the assistance of Chief Atterbury, PEC took a look at the stop sign warrants for that intersection. We just counted it in the last month and just received counts. So that was advantageous. I'm going to run you through the warrants as they sit and let you know how we got to where we got. The first warrant, warrant A, 5 or more crashes in a 12-month period or 6 or more crashes in a 36-month period. The information that Chief provided said 11 crashes and occurred at the intersection in 24-25. Which appears to meet that warrant. However, that information we were provided did not have the type of crash that it was. So the guts of that warrant are, you have to show that a stop sign would improve and decrease the type of crash that occurred. So as an example, if all of those crashes, let's say, were rear end collisions, a stop sign wouldn't necessarily reduce that number. It may actually increase them. But if they're all side impact collisions because someone didn't stop or ran a stop, that would be something that an additional stop sign would help with. But without the information we have, we can't say that it meets that warrant. So the warrant B was sight distance on the minor approach. That was not met. You can see clearly from both approaches. Warrant C, always stop control in the short-term interim measure to traffic while arrangements are being met for a signal. I don't think we're going to get there either, so that was not met. Warrant D, traffic volumes. The volumes that came out of those traffic counts, typically you have to meet 8 hours of the 24-hour period. This intersection currently meets 7 of those 8, and the 8th hour is 60 vehicles short. So that is not met. However, warrant E, the engineering study, because of the crash data that we have that is, let's call it inconclusive, and the closeness of the overall 8-hour warrant and the geometry that we're going to go to when we add that left turn lane. As an example, if you're sitting in that left turn lane northbound, waiting on traffic to clear, and someone is crossing in front of you, if I'm in the outside lane, I can't see that pedestrian, and that's a real problem. So that's what we want to try to avoid. So our recommendation, because of that additional level of study, is to convert this to a 4-way stop intersection. Our additional advice would be, because of all of the changes that are going to occur here, the best scenario for the traveling public is for all of those to happen at the same time. So all of the discussion you've had, obviously this is your decision, but my advice would be, if we can break out that sidewalk and leave it as not a crossing until we get to a point where we can stripe it and reconfigure with that left turn lane and add a stop sign north and south and the advanced stop warning that'll come with that, that is the safest scenario for the traveling public, and that's what we would advise. With that, I'm happy to answer any additional questions you have.
Mr. Proctor.
So I notice, I think that's Keachai's Road, but they got the yellow line on the wrong line.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But hey,
Bad,
that's
bad graphic.
Keachai.
Yeah. I'll talk to him about it.
Our project's going to do that though. So we got to do it right.
Tim, thank you for your recommendation, and that's very helpful. Yeah,
Yeah, one thing I'll add, and on a personal note, and thanks for coming tonight and sharing your testimony on Oliver as well as Woodlawn. I drive this stretch every morning and every evening, so I drive through this to go to the Woodlawn interchange at 254, and I have personally witnessed accidents, and I have witnessed a lot of very close calls because cars stop at the east-west and assume north-south is going to stop, and they just turn right in front of a car that's coming. And so I think I've said this a couple times over the last year that we should consider this, and I'm glad that we're at this moment. And thank you for reviewing it, and thank you for the recommendation.
The curious thing I have, and just because I don't know, I assume you saw the traffic studies that were done by USD 259 at this intersection and by Transys, I guess they're GFT now. And I assume you're aware of those.
I have not seen those, no.
You have not seen those.
I gave him the K254 traffic studies or volumes. I believe that's what you.
Yeah, and I think Ann sent me the
Ann sent you
traffic
some.
study that was done for the school, but I haven't reviewed it yet.
Okay, so you have that. Have you gotten a hold of the one done by Transys? KDOT paid for that probably about 5 years ago, I think. I don't know exactly what time frame was.
Yeah, with it being 5 years old, I think Ann just forwarded the most recent one, which was the school one. I think that was 3 years old, but I can give him the 5-year-old one if that would help.
And to provide clarity on the school one, and we had a meeting with the school about it, it was really focused on their
drive.
logistics of their drive and if they needed to make improvements. So it had counts, which were older, but it was really focused on how they could improve their campus and their traffic flow, which brings me to why the city staff is meeting with the school. Is this could have an impact, right, on how they operate their traffic. And so it's really more of a heads up if this decision's made type of thing, so that the school district understands how that traffic flow will look next year, because this won't be done until next fall, next school year. So that was sort of the reasoning behind having that meeting, other than just being a good neighbor and coordinating, was this, if this happens, here's what that impact could be, and give them time to make their adjustments to their,
Or to post a crosscut out here or whatever they'd like.
all
to do
those
to
things.
accommodate the new situation.
Right.
Well, and we don't have this intersection being rebuilt on the 2026 road maintenance, but we do have it being mill and overlaid south of this intersection.
This
And
intersection will be re-overlaid, and we're adding, if you remember the graphic that had the two green triangles.
that's right.
We're adding
that's right.
that here.
Mhm.
So the other part of that sidewalk project is to be able to add those with our project. If it comes second, they would
Right.
have to install that sidewalk and then some sort of temporary asphalt connection.
Yeah.
Where we could just not do that, wait till the asphalt is done, tie in with the sidewalk.
And we
And
know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate that. So, okay. Well, Mr. Proctor.
I was just going to ask one more question on the
Sure.
on the traffic. Chief Atterbury, in the crashes, did we have the types of crashes available to be able to report on,
Yes,
like, say on Oliver and on Woodlawn or on Webb as well?
Both of them, that's accessible.
Okay.
And we can get that to you if that'll add a warrant.
If I might mention the timeline, and Tim turned this around in probably 2 days, working days. So we weren't planning to do a 3-lane Woodlawn upgrade. In November, December, we said, let's do some geotech to see if the shoulders can maintain it. And that's kind of why we're a little behind the 8 ball on this, is because we kind of switched to this 3-lane traffic, which would be much improved, but we weren't sure the shoulders were going to handle it until probably a month and a half ago. So that's why we're trying to move as quickly as possible, but also make the safest and best decision for the city.
I can tell you that I believe almost 100% of the crashes are 90-degree. Somebody stopped the stop sign and continues through when it's not clear because north-south traffic's still moving, or they've just run the stop sign and same outcome.
I've seen both.
90-degree crash.
I just wanted to add, if I was concerned about this not meeting it, I would have reached out to the chief and said, hey, give me the data you have so I can make this. I felt comfortable with the information that we had, just looking at it. We were close on the other one. I'm sure we're going to get there with that one too, but I was comfortable making the recommendation with the information we had, so.
Tim, you might kind of cover, I mean, we can make this decision. The idea behind it is getting good sound engineering judgment to back up the decision. And it seems like you wouldn't make this recommendation unless you felt very comfortable about it.
It's, like I said, that warrant E is a full warrant. My recommendation as the engineer that's looked at this is yes, please install a four-way stop at this intersection based on the criteria that we've already mentioned.
Would you cite a major factor is pedestrian traffic?
Yeah.
Pedestrian safety.
Yeah, and the volumes, the left turn lanes, the crashes will probably get there too. My only concern with that is because years prior were 1 or 2 crashes and that data was during Woodlawn shutdown, how much of that additional traffic was detour traffic that wasn't indicative of that intersection once it goes back. So my concern, if we were only relying on that crash information, was if those crashes were a temporary condition because of that construction project, that wouldn't meet a true warrant. So
right,
I wasn't going to rely solely on that.
Chief, one more question. How many crashes have we had to date? I know the data we shared were through last year. I don't know if it included 26. Do you have a few
for
for
what
that?
time period?
Well, just since the beginning of this year at that intersection, do we have 1 or 2 already?
2.
I'm just curious.
2.
2.
Yep.
So we're already at what the previous years were before the spike.
Yes. At Oliver, no, Woodlawn. Yeah. Yes. I mean, last year was a huge spike.
Right.
And I don't know if it's considered, but the number of housing units has increased dramatically over the last few years along the 53rd Street corridor.
Right.
So we've got all that traffic dumping out and then using that corridor and crossing there.
Yeah, I think that's had obviously growth plays into that. I think also the Oliver Keekchai project rerouting traffic had a potential impact in traffic patterns, but anyway.
I have one additional question. So if we go the route, and I think, if we go the route of stop left of the page for the KDOT project, what's the timing between that happening, KDOT project finishes, and then city project comes in and finishes it? What's the delay between those two projects? Or do we know?
There's some question of when, since we haven't met with the contractor at all, since we just approved them tonight,
Right.
They'll get to it before August 17th. I guarantee that. Other than that, it could be June, could be July. I'm not sure when they would do this intersection, but we would try to do all of this at the same time. My only question is whether this would be before rock, after rock,
Okay.
at the beginning of summer, end of the summer. I just can't answer that now and without knowing what their schedule is going to be.
So that's
Okay.
the contractor timing. Is what
Yeah.
But the goal is if you did negotiate a change order with the contractor on the road maintenance project, the expectation would be that we have this finished in time for school
It
to
would meet
start.
the same terms that are in that contract, which is open by August 17th. Substantial completion means the sidewalk is open also.
Right.
We would dictate that when we make that change order.
Awesome. Thank you.
I agree. That makes a lot of sense. I'm glad you asked that question.
Well, it's really your call, and I'm not going to make a formal issue here, but they do need some direction.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
What
that
I think the overall hearing is we stop it and then include the crossing with the street maintenance project.
I would like to see a sign placed that says sidewalk closed.
Yeah,
So
I'll
that
let
there's no question.
yeah,
that-
Yeah, that's
yeah,
that
I'll
job.
I'll let them know that.
I would like that. I mean, just to put that on record, I think that needs to be done.
So we're looking then at a change order with Prado on the sidewalk, and then probably a change order with Kansas Paving on
Correct.
finishing the intersection. And you're going to take care of the design work, right?
Yeah, my only ask is that the gas part be sorted before, so we don't have to mess with that part. That's, I'm happy to do the sidewalk part, but
Yeah, you'll have to
I'll work it
talk
out
with
him.
him. Okay,
They'll clean up their mess on the other projects so that we have a good start on the other one.
okay. All right. And are we saying go ahead with the four-way stop concept? Do we think we should do that? And I see 3, 4, I haven't heard, seen from the 5th, but maybe he's saying the same thing. Okay. All right. So it gives you some direction there? Very good. All right.
I'll make a comment, and this is sort of unrelated, but a little related. We didn't really cover, I know you came to talk about both Oliver and Woodlawn. We didn't really talk about a four-way stop, but I do think that we've been exploring improvements to all our intersections. I'll say that. So that hasn't gotten forgotten.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. You ready to go on to your next
Go on to the
topic?
next one. I hope everybody read my staff report, so I don't have to repeat everything in it, but I sure can. Essentially, the city of Bel Aire has 2 water sources. One, the primary one is CCUA. We receive lots of water from CCUA, but we also have the city of Wichita as a water source. We mainly utilize city of Wichita water source when we need, in peak months in the summer, when CCUA can't supply us during those peak days. Sorry, not months. Days. You got to think of water in days because we use every day. Also, as a security secondary, it's always good when Wichita issues a boil order and we're taken from CCUA or vice versa. So it's always safe for residents to have a second water source at any time, and also to contribute to our growth. We have a lot of growth on the east side of our city, and we utilize or will potentially have to utilize more Wichita water in the future. That's just a little bit of water supply overview. Background on water conservation. I think everybody here knows what's happened over the last 3 years. Cheney reserves we've been through a drought. Cheney water levels were lowered. Wichita issued stage 2 restrictions on the city, on its residents and its suppliers. That means us through a contract. We had to go to 1 day a week watering. And then after that, in 2025, Wichita wanted to take a permanent water restriction approach and basically really stress the regional conservation aspect and go to 3 days a week watering. And I lay out, there's more rules and regs in my staff report, but I won't go over all those. So the city of Bel Aire, saw that and temporarily agreed to do the 3 day a week watering schedule as they prescribed. However, the council at the time in 2025 really wanted the utility advisory committee to look at maybe a Bel Aire centric solution. So the mayor and I and a good majority of my staff, my UB staff, worked with the utility advisory committee and kind of came up with this chart that I also included on my staff report that utilizes 100 gallons per capita. And that is, and Jim, you can fill in a lot of this, but that is really what Kansas Water Office suggests. And right now, and then measure that in a rolling 12-month average, we're under 100 gallons per capita using that process. So essentially what it would be is Bel Aire being self-managed conservation per household instead of maybe a blanket policy. When we see our 12-month average go up to 100, that's when we would have to essentially print a report, find high water usage, and try to manage the water better through the staff. The key element in ours is if ours doesn't work, we'll gladly go to a 3-day-a-week water schedule as Wichita prescribed. We submitted this plan to Wichita, and they would really prefer we stick with their plan, the regional plan. So now that kind of puts me back in front of council to discuss, what next steps we should take. The big thing I would like to stress, and I kind of laid it out in 3 points, is the regional partnership and contract considerations. Wichita, we are in a contract with Wichita till 2028. They do have take or pay provisions, and then we have to renegotiate a contract either through CCUA or through our own. So that's something to consider when we want to evaluate our response to Wichita. The other long-term water supply and infrastructure planning, I've talked to John, our water operator, and Marty. We've had conversations with Tony, and Mayor Benaj asked the CCUA to kind of look into an ROI to supplying the cities with more water. But with the growth we're seeing in Sunflower Commerce Park, we're always going to need Wichita water for the foreseeable future. So that's another element to consider when we're talking about our response. And finally, the local flexibility versus regional consistency. Wichita does. They really want a regional effort. However, we also want to keep our autonomy. So that's something to grapple with in this discussion. I'll gladly bow out now because I think I've done enough, but that's trying to frame this discussion to what we want to do in our next step.
Yeah. So I want to just tag along with that and give you a little different perspective to think about. There are several cities in the region who are not connected to Wichita, and they did not go through drought restrictions in the last 2 years. They didn't have an issue. The only issue Wichita had was Cheney Reservoir. They did not have a problem with their wells. Their wells always are at 90+% capacity throughout the entire time. Their issue is they have a water plant that can only take a certain mix of groundwater versus surface water. And when the surface water of Cheney Reservoir was low, they couldn't pull groundwater to make up for it because their plant doesn't have the ability to take that different mix. I don't know all the technical reasons for that, but there is a difference in the way you treat surface water versus groundwater. But their new plant will be able to do any mix they want, but it's not operational. It looks like it'll be more than a year before it is. I did ask our utility advisory committee about rainfall because they track that all the time, and so you have that chart in your packet. That shows that we are getting 3 inches on average, 3 inches more rain than Wichita is, and that kind of makes sense. Their measurement is out at Eisenhower Airport, and our measurement is here in Bel Air. These are all NOAA measurements. They're not measurements that somebody's doing in their backyard just to be as a hobby. Okay, so they're pretty solid there. And the real concern that has been expressed is we invested a lot of money in smart tools. We invested in smart readers. We've invested in software. We can manage this with our tools, and the interpretation of the contract from our friends at Wichita is that we have to follow their restrictions regardless of any history, that they never had restrictions before as a permanent restriction. I'm not sure that's a good interpretation, but that is their interpretation because we've had this contract for 10 years now, and never before had they ever made any suggestion that there's a permanent water restriction. And every water conservation plan we provided them that we developed, and we update that every year. We don't just do it once and leave it on the shelf. It's every year, has never addressed that issue at all. And it's always been acceptable. So there's that history there that makes it kind of like really frustrating that we've invested all this and then we're told we cannot use these smart tools. We have to go to their antiquated system, I guess, for lack of a better term. I don't know what the better term is, but their system is 3 days, three days a week watering. Okay. So, Ted Henry sent a letter to the staff at Wichita and said, here's an outline of what we want to do. They came back basically with mostly just objections more than anything. There were questions, but there were questions that were more just objections. And so he's tried to set up a meeting with them. He's got no response so far. And he's feeling like they're just not going to give us a response. So we have to make a decision on our own what we're going to do about this, I guess. We did look at the contract, and I'll ask Ms. Schrock to tell us what those things are. If my interpretation, and let her correct it if this is wrong, my interpretation, if they interpret that we violated the contract, they can charge us a 10% penalty on our cost of water. But there's a legal argument there that we would have to go through because that may or may not be a true violation if we did not follow this permanent water restriction. But like Mr. Henry said, previous council was of the opinion that we need to make our own plan. So we've tried to work on our own plan, and it's not being received like we think it should be. But we would like to present it to them and talk to them, but we just not have gotten there yet. So,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
I'd like to go ahead and add, or you finish. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, I think those are the main points I was going to make.
So some of the things I'm thinking about, and I thought about what we visited about previously, and you mentioned there right at the end about contracts. I'm not so much sure it's a contract question as it is just a sound, this body coming up with a sound, consistent policy to be proactive. Whether this is how we want to negotiate our next contract, which was alluded to, that's coming up, or whether that's just coming up with something that's different than that. I will say when I reviewed the data, I mean, it's kind of shocking. And to see the gallons per day drop when we did go to full 1 day, which obviously nobody liked that, right?
Right.
But it was like 69 gallons per day average or something.
Right.
It was a really low number.
Oh, it did. Yeah,
it was
you're
crazy.
right.
But I think thinking back on the 1 day watering restriction, nobody wants to do that again. Nobody. And a lot of what you said about Cheney is true. I think the water plant situation has an impact. But I also know some of the history with the well fields and the aquifer depletion. That isn't a problem right now, but that doesn't mean it won't be in the future.
No, true.
The ASR project that the city built was designed to help that, but that doesn't guarantee that the aquifer will stay at the 90%. I would just kind of say that I think the 3 days per week standard kind of came from, at least I remember when Gary Jansen first brought up that idea. And I don't know that I would look at it as a permanent restriction so much as a permanent conservation. I would probably reframe that a little bit, but the idea came from, I think it was Oklahoma City has had that for a number of years. And and you can look this up, Sedgwick County Extension offers guidance on irrigation of lawns. I personally believe that most people overwater, and I think watering every day is ridiculous. And I think most people should be watering every other day. I'm kind of in the boat here that I think a 3 day per week standard conservation effort is probably a good thing and probably should be more of a best practice than it is now for most homeowners. I think it would be definitely better than going to a 1 day. I think it would be good to have a 3 day and be a little bit more aggressive on conservation so that we can hopefully avoid or minimize aggressive restrictions in the future. I think working regionally as a partner, especially considering Bel Aire is growing, is a huge piece of this to me too. So I guess I would like to eliminate waste. And I know you mentioned Bel Aire gets 3 inches more of rain. That's also another reason to say we don't need to be irrigating as much if we're getting more rainfall. I would like to make it consistent not confusing for citizens. I think that was a struggle we all had with, cities' plan of the different quadrants in our plan. I remember that being confusing for people. I guess I'm of the opinion that I'd like to see us think more proactive of how we can prevent a future drought. Droughts are going to come. We're not going to prevent it. It's a cycle. They'll come, they'll go. I get that. But I also like the idea of prolonging the capacity of our regional water source. And we're a big consumer, not the biggest consumer, but one of the biggest suburbs. And we're going to need that resource to help our city grow. So I don't really like the idea of fighting this out with the city. I mean, again, legally, you can give us advice on what the contract says and what it doesn't say, but we could always try to renegotiate that when it comes due. But I think we all know how that might go. So I guess I'm just of the opinion that a 3-day per week, especially coming up from a 1 day, is really probably a best practice anyway. And I don't know why we would want to spend any more energy and any more effort, legal or otherwise, to fight that. I think that that's a good starting point. And I'm fine with us having a policy that might actually take it up a notch like we already do with our drought response plan. But I feel like the permanent 3-day conservation, that just sounds like good policy to me. And it sounds clear and concise. So that's my thoughts. That's my 2 cents.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
I was going to jump in because I know this was a hot issue with prior councils. I'm not a grass expert, but I had similar thoughts about it's kind of crazy that for most people to be watering 5, 6, 7 days a week, but the issue tended to be like when you got sod. And so I would be fine with 3 days a week, but I didn't love the idea of people having to like get an exception from you. Is there a way we can kind of put that on? I don't know how you police it because then everybody will abuse it.
So, and I stopped reporting because it got winter time, but I think exceptions were available via online, call in, and come in. I didn't see an issue. The only thing that I will say is I did get contacted by an HOA to we've talked about this when we went the one day watering, just giving me their plan for 3 days a week watering. That was just one HOA. So I think people are starting to think about it. So this is why we need to probably have this discussion tonight. So before the watering season starts.
Yeah, I want government to have the lightest touch. I don't want Ted's time taken up dealing with restrictions, but 3 days a week seems fine. And if there's a way we can make it easier for people doing something unusual, I'd be open to that. But I'm not opposed to this 3-day watering on a more permanent basis.
Mr. Parker.
Mr. Mayor, do we know if we're actually, I'm sure we know, what's the volume we're actually buying from Wichita? Are we at least utilizing our take or pay obligations?
I think Mr. Henry has a better handle on it than I do. I can pull it up. I have the record here on my computer, but
yeah. So
I think he has better
traditionally they've been pretty generous in saying, the hard part is we've been on water restrictions the last 2 years. So, and of course they're not going to enforce the take or pay when they're on water restrictions, but that doesn't necessarily mean going forward they're going to say, yes, you don't have to go up to your take or pay. But I haven't checked in a while. I know with us using as much CCUA water as we possibly can, because it's a cheaper water source, that number that we had to use for Wichita has gone down. However, you also got me at the last 2 years we've been on water restrictions, so I'd have to look back in data, 2023 data.
So is there a carve out between if a temporary water restriction or emergency turns into a permanent where they're just pocketing money because we can't actually use the water they're forcing us to buy?
They have not enforced any take or pay in the last 2 years because of that. They're not going to do that, or they're not going to do that to us. I don't believe, because we have a positive relationship, and that would be the anti-conservation method, because it'd force us to use water.
Even with this new restriction that they put on us, I think you could make the argument that we shouldn't be bound to a arbitrary take or pay, because you're restricting our our ability to use water. But I'm just looking back, and in 2022, we used 143 million gallons of water, Wichita water. Bel Aire did. And in 2023, we used 164, almost 165 million. 2024, that's where drought restrictions started late in the year. We used 93, almost 94 million gallons. 2025, we used 82 million, almost 83 million gallons. But again, 2024 and 2025 were heavily impacted by drought restrictions. So that's the numbers that we have. And of course, this year we've only have 1 month of data, so that we don't have anything to really report there. Less than 1 million gallons. So, but
Councilmember Proctor, I think that's a good point. I mean, I think us getting back to Wichita maybe looks something like, yeah, we agree that a 3-day conservation is good, but the take or pay thing is consideration. Don't just gloss over that. Like, make that a point. Be like, we expect that either A, that won't be enforced, or if we're worried about that at all, us amending the contract to include language that says, since the three-day permanent conservation is on, our take or pay lowers to this number. Well, I don't know what that is, but it's worth thinking about.
yeah. And one of the things, the reason for the ROI that I talked about earlier with CCUA is to help us have a better understanding of what does that need to look like if it makes sense to expand our storage capacity at CCUA. What would that look like as a take or pay, or to maximize? Now, don't misunderstand. CCUA has plenty of water rights to supply both cities with all the water we need for as far as we can see into the future. Okay. The issue is ability to produce potable water. You got to be able to pump it. You got to be able to process it and then deliver it, and also be able to make those peak demand issues. So those are the links. The water rights is not the issue, and it looks like see how it works out. It looks like we're going to be getting an additional 1 million gallons a day from the EPA through their mitigation project. So and that's basically free water for us. But we still have to treat it for make it potable water. But
Those would be permanent water
I'm sorry?
rights in perpetuity, or temporary?
The water rights are basically in perpetuity. If you continue to use water rights, you can lose them if you don't use them. You don't have to use them all. Obviously, they don't want you to use them all, because then you're depleting the water, right? But if you're not using them, then they'll say, well, you don't need those, and they'll give them to somebody else. So that's an issue. But and I don't know how the EPA thing is going to work, because with how they're going to pull 1 million gallons out of the ground and not have water rights for it. But there's a supremacy issue there. They're the federal government, so they can pretty much do what they want to do, right? And we just have to say, okay, that's good. But we'll see how that comes out. But that's kind of a good thing for CCUA, in that we're going to get that 1 million gallons a day free. But what are we going to end up doing? So the operator of the plant has to carefully manage that to make sure he's not violating the water right issues. So you can maintain some.
I know you mentioned the storage idea and the ROI. Has there been any discussion at CCUA about expansion of the water plant or a new plant or anything like that, which would be further out in the future? But
only high level that we probably need to look at that too. Right. But there's been no serious starting to look at it. They're kind of waiting to see, well, what really pans out with the EPA. So it gives us better flavor of what we got to, what's doable.
What did you design to?
Right. So but that it is on the rolling action item list to discuss, but it's more long term, like 5-10 years down the road type of thing.
That makes sense.
Okay. But I just want to make sure you understood that Derby is moving away from Wichita. They're building their own water plant. So is Valley Center. So
Derby actually just, I think last month, published a reuse feasibility study. So what Wichita is doing now, Derby is going to do a study to look at reuse of wastewater.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and over in our heavy industrial district, I mean, that our public works facilities right there. Maybe they're could be. Anyways,
Well,
so
there
what's
is
the
some possibility.
timeline on build out for us to be able to build out our own capacity? Can we do that by the time we're renegotiating our contract?
Probably not. The contract's due in 2 years, and I doubt that you could do something in 2 years. That would be really aggressive.
And I think because of the pump station we have by our old public works facility, we'll always have some sort of small contract with Wichita.
Well, it's always good to
just
have
for
the
a
backup.
secondary source.
Yeah.
Just want to say that for Marty and John if they're listening. they do a great job for our city, and that's very important to them to maintain the consistency that our residents have.
But I mean, obviously that question came from a standpoint of we are thinking about it's on the horizon. It's probably more of a 10-year plan, but obviously development and major projects could change the need for that
Oh, yeah.
almost overnight,
Yeah.
depending
Yeah.
on what happens. And so anyway, it's good to have it on the horizon. I'm glad you guys have talked about it, at least at the high level.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anybody's doing anything on that piece of it right now because we're just not there. But it probably will get more serious look after we see what the EPA does. They're supposed to be done by September. We'll see if that actually happens. I don't know. We'll see where they go. Okay. And that's they're talking about 25 years of water. The EPA is. So it's kind of a cool idea. Anyway, so is that kind of the consensus? We want to
Just go with
with
Wichita's
with the Wichita's
recommendation,
thing?
or I heard from two, so that's a hard
Yeah,
number. That's a
that-
hard number to take a consensus from.
right.
So, all right, I'll add a third.
I'd like to add that I like your comments, Emily, about, and I thought the same thing. I mean, there has to be some way of discretionarily managing new lawns, like whether you are a brand new house that has sod or seed, or you're overseeding, you're going to water for a 2 to 3 week period every day because you have to keep the seeds wet to germinate. So
Yeah.
we do, whether it's a hard thing where we make people sign up or not, I don't really care. I think we do have to have some, common understanding that that's going to happen. And when it's going to happen in the fall for most overseeding, or spring. Some people do it in the spring. It's usually in the fall. And obviously new home construction, they'll usually wait until a planting window, which is again in the spring or in the fall. So those are the times you're going to see that, right? Where people are watering every time. It's just going to be common knowledge that we should see. We're going to see that when people are maintaining their lawns.
I don't want to jump in front of Brandon, but was that one of Wichita's requirements as well, that you couldn't just say, hey, if you got sod or seed, you could do it. You had to track it.
They should report
Self-report.
and get a waiver. And to Jim's point, we do have the technology to monitor. We get live meter readings, which is nice with our smart meters, so we can
solve
see
that.
how
Citizens get their own meter
exactly.
reading.
Yeah. We're
real
not
time.
Big Brother.
Right.
Yeah, that technology is right there if you want to log on and look at it. It's already in place.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just add one. I don't disagree with anything that was said, and I do think we ought to get it along with Wichita. They're a partner in this, but I'm definitely against this arbitrary method of conservation. It doesn't even make sense for them to regulate their customer like that. It should be a metric like, I need you to reduce 10%, or I need you to reduce so many gallons, and when we ought to control our own destiny. So I'm still in that camp that we ought to have self-rule on that, but it's not worth fighting over for the next 2 years at least, but maybe on the next contract, it could be a better worded contract.
Any other comments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I agree with Mr. Dean and Ms. Hamburg. I'm sorry. Yeah, I do believe 3-day-a-week watering is just good common sense. It's not worth fighting over. Yeah.
Okay. I think you probably have consensus there. You think so? Okay.
And I will discuss the take or pay as well.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we need to discuss future issues?
Can I just report real quick? Next week, I know, we're gonna talk about short-term rentals policy. Paul will be here. We're gonna talk about code enforcement and take a trip around our comp plan just one more time. So, thank you.
So one issue that's brewing about the temporary rental issue, there is a bill in the legislature that probably will pass and probably will pass overwhelmingly to overrule any local temporary um, residence issues, ordinance, okay? And it will overrule it because of the FIFA World Cup going on in Kansas City. But it's a statewide thing. They didn't say this area of the state. It's going to be
Temporary.
statewide, and it's going to last until, I think, July 25th. So my suggestion, and we've not had this conversation, but we probably should have, is we should probably go on and draft the ordinance and just make it effective August 1st. And then you get out of that. You don't have to do this start and stop. You put an ordinance in place, 2 months later, it's obsoleted because the state overruled us, and then you're good. Then you're golden. Okay.
Kind of feels like the timelines may be lining up for that anyway, based on notices and getting people.
Yeah. They also have another one. This brewing is to allow 24/7 alcohol sales.
I saw that.
Basically, it's 23/7. It's they close for 1 hour from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. They're trying to mirror. Missouri did that apparently for the FIFA tournament. So they're trying to do the same thing. And that probably will pass as well and be signed by the governor. I think she requested it, and I think there's pretty well overwhelming support in Topeka for it. So, okay. So just so you know what's brewing.
I also saw it was Overland Park, or one of the suburbs in Kansas City is raising their sales tax or some tax temporarily, their transit tax, or
Hey, why not?
they're raising it just for that time period
Why not?
and then
Yeah.
bumping it back down. So there's all sorts of interesting things they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I won't belabor any other discussions, future issues.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean,
I will move to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Parker, is your second? Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Dean and second by Mr. Proctor to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.